Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Transatlantic Call-In Show. On the line today is April 23rd, 2026. This is a call-in show. We're trans, and we take topics usually specifically related to that from the humanist perspective. And the number on the screen down there, you can see it. It's 720-619-2288. If you have any disagreements or questions or contentions, those are the kind of calls that we're looking for today. I am your host, Luxander Moss, and with me today is Riverboat Jack. How are you doing today, Jack?
I'm doing great. A little bit sick, so my voice is a little bit off, but I'm here. Let's party. I'm excited.
Yeah. So we're all kind of struggling a little bit. We had some last minute schedule shifts around this week. I was not originally supposed to be here. I'm not even supposed to be here today. Wow, Clerks just lives in my brain rent free, huh? Anyway, today is the show. What even is going on? You should be a trans ally is the title of today's show. So let's, do you think any thoughts about that? Do you think that you should be obligated to be a trans ally? Or is it okay for you to hate trans people? I don't know. Tell me why you think it's okay. What are there any kind of calls you're interested in today, Jack? Any topics?
If you think that trans people should be banned from television, like Brendan Carr, or should be classified like no gender identity topics in children's shows, love to talk about that.
Yeah, and we'll get into it a little bit more when we get to talking about our polls today. So I guess let's look at last week's poll because I don't remember what it was, and that can spark some conversation today. Should trans men with a gender marker change be automatically registered for the draft? This was Dr. Ben's idea because Ben obviously just got kicked out of the military recently for being trans. And I don't know. What are your thoughts, Jack?
I mean, I think everyone should register for the draft. I'm not a fan of the draft, but if we're going to have one, seems like it should be universally applied.
Yeah. I think I trend toward the end of there shouldn't be a draft. I mean, if you want to voluntarily join the military, that's a different thing than the draft, which I understand to be just they can pull from this list of people whenever they feel like it. And actually, right before we talked about this last week, I had just seen a really cute, excuse me, a really cute video compilation of a bunch of trans women in, I think, Thailand or Vietnam, one of the two, who it's sort of a ritual of coming of age for them, where they go to where all the 18-year-old men are signing up for the military or being evaluated for whether they're going to be drafted into the military. And so all of these trans women getting their denials and making little kissy faces and posing with their formal rejection paperwork. I think it was really cute. So it's got to be either everybody or nobody, and obviously as an anti-imperialist who kind of doesn't like war and the military, I would be on the side of
war's
not.
Great?
I know,
What?
crazy. Radical leftist ideology thinks war is bad. What a great American tradition that I have become part of. With all the Vietnam War protesters and conscientious objectors and everything from back in the day. So I feel like I'm part of a proud American tradition of saying, fuck the military. My free speech. So y'all had some interesting feedback in the comments. Of course, we have the version of this that's on our posts page on our channel. So if you want to actually get into the conversation, share your thoughts in the comments there, you're still welcome to do that. But we have a new poll for this week. We're just going to kind of glaze over it right now, and we'll talk about it a little bit more once we take a couple calls. Question for this week: should kids' TV shows and movies with transgender characters be rated PG or above? And as Jack alluded to, there does seem to be some political movements in this direction. So it's going to be interesting to talk about and see where that develops. I don't have call-in studio open. I am bad at my job. Nope, not just the word.
All good.
Not just Googling the word call. That's not how that works.
You got this. I believe in you.
Thank you. Your belief sustains me. I will make it through just because of that. Okay, we do have one person screening, but we still have plenty of open lines. So if you want to talk to us, okay, first of all, actually, also, I'm going to say, if you're in the chat right now and you're just along for the ride, you know, you don't have any contentions, you don't have any questions, hit the like button, y'all. We appreciate that. It immediately helps the show. It immediately boosts us to the algorithm. If we get like 20 likes, we inevitably get several more viewers popping in like almost instantaneously. So anything you can do to support the show in that way, if you click share and then copy the link with the blue button, as far as YouTube is concerned, that counts as you sharing the stream. I would love it if you would paste it onto one of your social medias also. But as far as the algorithm is concerned, just touch the screen as many times as possible. And that will help boost us out to get more calls and get more eyeballs on this. We are also dual streaming today to the vertical. And I don't have that open. And I would love to see if we have any interesting conversation over there. Because we always end up with people in the side chat on the verticals who like don't call in, which is strange. So I'm going to be looking and seeing if there's anybody who I'd like to call out and say, hey, call in. The number is 720-619-2288. And if you have a confrontational call, if you're like, I don't like trans people, you'll get bumped right to the top of the list. Because those are the kinds of conversations that we're really interested in having today. So I see somebody got muted. Who got muted? Why you get muted?
Oop.
I can't see why they got muted. XOXO Maxine, did you have some beef?
Where's the beef?
Because I'm a vegetarian and I ain't fucking scared of him. Boy, I'm just doing the ADHD thing today where you're like, a bunch of songs live in your brain constantly. So that's fun. Vertical is the cesspit. That's why I feel at home here. Jesus. That's accurate. That's true.
It's true, but it's our favorite cesspit.
It
our
is.
favorite one.
It's our cesspit, okay?
Yeah.
Communism. And of course, don't forget, if you get your $5 or more super chats in, we will read those at the end of the show. You can vote #Team Lux or #Team Jack to vote for whoever loses that competition has to defend a silly position. So we'll get around to that at the end of the show. Let me see. Okay, we do actually have an interesting call that I would like to get into. But yeah, like I said, the lines are still open. Our screener is available. We will be able to take you in and process the calls. But we do have B, he, him pronouns, calling from Virginia, wants to talk about transfiction and some kinds of hypocrisy of the hosts here. B, you're live on the line with Luxander and Riverboat Jack. How's it going?
It's going okay.
I feel that. Well, lay it on us. What's your topic for today?
If I were to ask you to accept the idea that you giving out your home address live on stream was a good idea, would you accept that claim?
No.
That's a fascinating question, but obviously not. I mean, trans people receive death threats and we have stalkers and stuff. So yeah, like publicizing my home address would not be an intelligent decision.
I 100% agree with you. That would be a bad idea. Let me put on my theist hat for a second. You should have faith in the claim that it would be a good idea. Is that going to change the outcome?
So the problem with faith claims is that they usually come in conflict with evidentiary claims. And if I have like evidence of trans people being stalked across the world, there was that one streamer who like had to move from Canada to Ireland, and she was even stalked in Ireland, and people like found out what hotel she was staying at because she shared a picture that included the sheets in it. Like, so there's like, I am very sensitive about a lot of personal information because people are crazy. So that's what I'm saying about like faith being in conflict with evidence. There's a lot of evidence that publicizing that information would be harmful to me.
Okay. Now let me take off my theist hat and put on my transfiction writer hat. You should suspend your disbelief and just accept the claim. Is that going to change the outcome?
What claim?
I'm very confused.
The claim that it would be a good idea for you to give out your home address. You should just ignore all the evidence that you're wanting to point to and just suspend your disbelief and go along with the notion that it would be a good idea.
Is there a compelling benefit in this hypothetical scenario? Like, is there like I'm going to benefit somehow from that?
Why would I want to do that?
Exactly. Okay. What I'm saying is, I feel like I'm not saying there's not good transfiction. What is
transfiction?
Are you talking about like books? Like that's what I think when you say
books,
transfiction,
movies,
but I don't think that's what you mean.
I'm going to be honest.
Like, just define your term.
I'm going to be honest. I feel like it's self-evident. Fiction that's primarily centered around transgender characters.
Okay, so just any story that is about a trans person.
Yep.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
What's wrong with it?
Yeah, like I'm confused what your argument is. Is it bad?
Okay. Going back to using the idea of giving out one's home address. If you DM'd your home address to each other, you're at less of a risk because you're good friends. You'd be doing that in private, right?
Even then, I would probably be thoughtful about which platform I send that information over.
Fair. But we're in public. There's me and there's all of chat. And the pretending like all of chat and anyone who could ever view this, the pretending like nothing bad will ever happen. I just find that transfiction is just littered with the whole, let's ignore all the bad stuff that could ever happen and pretend like nothing bad. Let's ignore all the evidence that indicates this is not just a bad idea. It's a horrible idea.
In my experience, it's the opposite. Like, in my experience, it's like trans stories are often littered with tragedy and difficulty, and it's all about the like coming out and how everybody's rejecting you. Like, what do you mean? Are you talking about like escapist fantasy? Sorry, Jack, go ahead.
I'm trying to figure out, like, is your issue with like trans people in general, or is your issue with just you've encountered bad or stories you don't like that center on trans people? Like, what? Because like I gotta tell you, there's a lot of bad stories out there about like cis people, like that just not very good works of fiction. So like, is the problem with like the lack of quality in the fiction, or is your problem with something else, like just trans people being protagonists?
Well, one, if you're going to have a trans protagonist, I have absolutely no problem with a trans protagonist. My issue is with the pretending like things are better or worse than they actually are.
But that's that's a component of fiction,
right? You're going to face...
But that can be a component of fiction, right? Like, that's just a function of like the genre. Like, if you're writing a work of fiction, like, you can imagine a world where like trans people aren't as marginalized or are more accepted, or, you know, trans people have like a role of like fighting dragons or something, just to start spitballing ideas. So
I go to the current location of the Stonewall riots in New York City right now, and I proclaim I'm gay. Everybody around me is going to probably go, okay, because we currently live in a society where, okay, that's a mundane claim. Nobody's going to care, really.
Okay.
I feel like these trans fiction books, I want all the drama and the good stuff of doing that back during the Stonewall riots. But the negative consequences of doing it today. I want all the good stuff, but none of the bad stuff. You point to the idea of a society where trans people aren't marginalized. Okay, you're talking Star Trek. Yeah, nobody cares if someone's trans. Okay, but you also in that same society, because they're accepted, don't have the drama. There is no good or bad. It's just they're accepted.
So I don't know if maybe this is just like because you're coming from outside of the trans community and there's like a lack of perspective here, but it, like for a lot of trans people in their real actual lives, our trans identities are a focal point of conflict. And so when we write fantasy, so first of all, there are plenty of things with like trans people in them where that is a focal point of conflict, but it's more interesting for a trans writer. Like, I'm not a trans writer in that way, but I can imagine the perspective being like, it's much more interesting to have a trans character who is dealing with other forms of conflict besides that. Yeah. Which is not to say that it's never an issue, but it's not the primary focus. It's not the primary, like, journey that they're on. So, I mean, if this call is basically just like a comment that you should have left on Goodreads, like, I don't know how like, what else to tell you. That, like, yes, sometimes trans writers want to have self-insert characters who have the opportunity to triumph over other forms of adversity.
Yes, you're not one note. You are multitudes. Everybody is multitudes. That's kind of my point.
Okay, but your point, the point you're making seems like, I'm sorry, I gotta cut you off. Your point really seems to be boiling down to trans writers aren't writing the book you want to read.
Is that quite? Because I could. Let me tell you where I'm coming from exactly.
Yeah,
my job
really
is a
helpful.
victim's rights advocate. And when the victim I'm having to try to advocate that the court should not throw the book at is someone who has gone and read a likely AI-assisted and/or entirely written trans romance novel that informs them that the epitome of flirting is to walk up to someone you think is a pre-op trans woman, I think that's right, and grab them by the crotch, and they're going to go, "Ooh, you're so forward." Yeah, that's kind of what I'm taking issue with. The whole pretending like that's going to have a good outcome.
Number one, if the specific work you're talking about is an AI generated book, that has nothing to do with like actual human authors. Number one. Number two, like, no, just it straight up doesn't. Yeah. It's generated by an algorithm. Number two, like, the vast majority of people who read romance novels aren't looking for that exact scenario to play out in real life. It's escapist fantasy. Like when cis women read like historical romance novels about like pirate corsairs like boarding a Victorian era ship and ravaging the damsels aboard, it's not because they want to be in a scenario where the pirates are boarding their ship and ravaging them for real life. It's a different thing. It's an escapist fantasy. So like, and part of the issue here. I'm sorry. like the question you are posing here of like, well, these books aren't the kind of trans fiction I want to see. That's because they're not being written for you. And in some cases, they're not being written at all because AI is just generating them. So, like, the problem you have is with, like, just things existing that aren't for you. Like, I'm not a big fan of romances written for, like, cis women because it's not for me. It's not made with people like me in mind. And when we talk about like other escapist fantasy, you mentioned Star Trek, you can have a universe where like trans people aren't marginalized and where trans people aren't like being attacked for their identity, but that can still be a commentary on our world today.
Yep.
Like a great example of this would be from the original series where they engage with topics about racism without like yeah, with the flaws of the time, obviously, but while like trying to be progressive in their views on African Americans and integration. And like, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things you can do there, but not everything is going to be that, and also not everything is going to be like problematic romantic fiction.
Okay, and when I ask somebody, hey, I don't think this thing is realistic, you seem to be taking the stance of it is realistic. We seem to have a disagreement.
That's what you took away from what I said. You took away from trans people write escapist fantasy sometimes, and you were like, well, I'm genuine. I don't understand the conversation.
There is escapist fantasy.
Yes. And that seems to be what you're talking about and what you're upset about.
Realistic.
No.
Cool. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fantasy.
You gave an example about like the way trans people flirt is by going up and grabbing other people's crotches. That's not realistic.
And the author literally tells me that, yes, they think that's realistic.
It's not.
So, yes.
They're just wrong.
I agree. So, my issue is we shouldn't go around saying it is.
We aren't.
Like, if you have a problem with someone else, then okay. But I don't think that this is like, so B, the reason why we're like confused and a little bit frustrated is because this doesn't seem like it's a common problem. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm encountering this every day. And like, there might be some settings in which it is realistic. Are you at like a trans-only nightclub? Maybe grabbing each other's genitals is a normal part of flirting there. I don't know. I am monogamously married. But like, it's like if you're taking issue with someone else's fantasy, like I cannot help you, and this is not a broader problem. Like, if you're like literally bringing a complaint about one singular author's one singular story and like seeming to extrapolate it.
Right.
Okay, well, you're extrapolating what's clearly a very niche writing area. It's like this to me sounds like it belongs on fanfiction.net, right? Like some kind of like amateur authors writing their own fantasies.
Oh, I agree.
And I don't understand like why this is a big enough problem for you to bring it to me on this platform.
It just seems like a conversation you should be having with that person.
This conversation where I was literally told to shut the fuck up about this.
Well, I think it's because people are really confused.
The stance that it can't be wrong.
That's not at all what any of us said. If you have an issue with an individual writer, you take that up with that writer. Like, we can't answer for what's in that writer's head. We don't know who the fuck you're talking about.
I agree. I'm not, okay. I accept that I'm engaging in some sort of collective blame because my issue is with the line as a whole. The fact that you guys rightfully call out a bunch of BS and theists, but find it odd that I find the same stuff BS in fiction.
Here's the difference, B. Christians actually believe the crazy shit. Like that, but if somebody is explicitly engaging in fantasy, they're like, this is a fictional novel. And I think some aspects of this might be realistic. Like maybe they heard one of their trans friends tell a story where that happened and it was sexy. Like, I don't know. They could be drawing from their own personal real world experience. But the thing is that, like, we are talking about something where it's explicitly acknowledged that it's a story that a person wrote. It's a fantasy that they want to engage with, versus Christians and other religious people who have like genuine, deep-seated beliefs about how the world actually is on like a fundamental metaphysical level, right? Like the belief that a God exists and that it's realistic that God is taking part in our actions and cares who we have sex with and all that kind of stuff. That is a ridiculously large claim. But the idea that in certain circumstances, trans people might be very forward with one another sexually, that is not like unrealistic in the same way. It may be unrealistic in certain contexts. Like, yeah, I'm not going to like walk up to a person on the street, but like if we're in a nightclub and people are drunk, like that, there is a context in which that could be understood to be realistic or could potentially happen. So yeah, like I just think that we're talking about things that are on complete different scales. And I don't know who told you to shut the fuck up. I don't know if that was myself. I don't remember our previous conversations if I have talked to you before. So like I'm not gonna try to defend anybody who told you to shut the fuck up. But like I don't think that it's hypocritical for us to say, okay, we can acknowledge that this is a fantasy scenario that a person is engaging with versus like literal God claims, literal metaphysical claims, claims about the soul, like anti-science claims, like, I don't know.
Yes, I would agree. Ultimately, what the claim is are very different. I agree. You are fully capable of going up and touching another person in any way. That's physics. My issue is more the whole, well, the dumb Reddit meme, and everybody clapped, that nobody would object to that. I think a lot of people would object to that, such that it would be a very bad idea, and we shouldn't portray it as anything other than a horrible idea. And yet it's being portrayed as the epitome of flirting.
Listen, I've read fantasy before that's with cis women for cis women, okay? The unrealistic shit that they do, right? We're talking about romance, which is a genre that is fundamentally like
messy and problematic.
And there's the Omegaverse stuff, and there's like werewolves, and people forcing each other on each other, and I liked it though. Like it's a whole genre filled with a bunch of messy, problematic shit. And I think that B, I feel for you. I feel this frustration. I understand and validate your frustration. This should be like a conversation you're having in the comments of this person's book, and not a conversation we should be having here, because I cannot help you any further than what we've already done.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, with that, thank you very much for your time, B. We appreciate the call, and I'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Jesus Christ.
I'm a bit speechless.
I know, like, what do I even say about that? Yeah,
I mean, there is a lot of problematic stuff in like the romance subgenre.
The whole genre.
I tried to touch on that, but like it's also still gonna be problematic when trans people write it, or if it's about or involving trans people.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately not a problem we're gonna fix by like shaking our fingers at the genre, because people have been doing that for literally hundreds of years.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's inherently about like borderline unrealistic things that are very exciting and that might border on like kinks or might border on like non-consent or whatever. Like there is there's so much in the genre that you could just basically say the entire genre is bad on this type of logic, which, and then it's all puritanical slut shaming stuff. Like, I don't know. And like, oh, you shouldn't portray it as a good thing to go up and grab somebody. Like, yes, in most situations, that would be sexual assault. But in this particular fantasy, everybody was into it. So shut the fuck up about it. It's like, I understand now why someone told me to shut the fuck up. I finally reached that. Okay, great. Cool. We still have lines open, y'all. 720-619-2288. We've got open lines. We're going to be here for another 2 hours taking calls before we move into our super chats section. So make sure to get in the queue. If you have a contention with us, if you disagree with us about something, you're going to get bumped to the top of the queue. High priority on those calls. And don't forget, if you're just here to hang out, you can like, share, subscribe, check your notifications, and all that kind of stuff. All of those things help boost the show in small ways. It's like cumulative, you do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And if enough people do it, just one little click on your screen or double tap if you're on the mobile, I just can't talk right now. Anyway, we do have a couple calls in the queue. Okay, I think I'm interested in taking a call from John, who gave no pronouns, calling from New England. John, you are live on the line with Luxander and Riverboat. Jack, how you doing?
Hello.
Hey, I'm well. How are you guys?
Doing okay. A little bit flabbered from the last call, but doing good. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
How you doing, John?
I'm well. So, before I get into sort of my objections to, transsexualism, whatever you want to call it, I'm just curious is that it seems like to me that it's really, really important for you guys that everybody else sort of affirm this thing that you're doing. And it's because, it almost seems like the only way in which you can actually be women is linguistically, is my assessment, which is why it's so important for people to make that sort of assertion and affirmation to you. I'm just wondering, sort of, if you're women intrinsically, then it doesn't matter how you present. It also doesn't matter how other people perceive you. But you're obviously super touchy about it.
Well, is it important to you to be respected by people in your life?
It is, yeah.
To be shown a basic level of common decency?
Well, so the difference is that, you guys have what was historically classified as a mental illness, right? It's according to Blanchard's transsexual typology, autogynephilia.
Is it now?
Right? So I don't know.
Wait, is
no,
it
because
now?
A cadre, no, a lot of things aren't, but that's because a cadre of very powerful men who also have autogynephilia have leveraged their influence to make that the case. But all the research, all the empirical evidence that was there.
You think any evidence for that whatsoever? Evidence of this cadre of powerful men?
Mountains, absolutely.
They've taken over all of the major medical organizations in the United States?
It's not taken over it, but yeah, basically they've leveraged their.
Well, all of the major medical organizations in the United States affirm trans people.
For one thing, that's going back a lot because we've already banned so-called gender-affirming care for minors. Thank God. Because
no, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
We'll remember it. A lot of states have, and we'll remember it the same way people remember things like foot binding, right? You guys are mentally ill. And you mutilate your bodies, and you mutilate children's bodies, and you demand that everybody else.
John, do you know what a gish gallop is?
A what?
Do you know what a gish gallop is?
Can you spell it? I don't know what you're saying.
It's GISHGALLOP, which tells me you don't know what a gish gallop is. So a gish gallop is when you're engaged in a debate and you just keep saying things and skipping from one topic to the next, and you throw out 15 different things, and it's literally impossible to address all of your claims. Okay, so can you slow down a little bit and maybe pick one?
The base of your transaction
has been completely debunked.
Let's speak to that point first.
Has been totally debunked.
One point at a time.
And okay. So John. So here's the thing. The idea of autogynephilia is basically the idea that women like being viewed sexually as women. Which, if
No,
autogynephilia
it's that
exists, John, shut the fuck up. I cannot get a single sentence out without you interrupting.
Don't swear at me,
John,
you freaky little
I am going to
tranny
swear
freak.
at you if you interrupt
John,
me. Stop interrupting,
John,
and I
you're
will not
calling
swear
in.
at you. You're being rude by interrupting me. I'm in the middle of a point. So autogynephilia is like feeling sexual as a woman. That's what like feeling sexual about yourself as a woman, wanting to be viewed sexually as a woman. If autogynephilia exists, John, literally, I'm in the middle of making a point. Can't even get to the actual point. Pause for a second. Women, cis women, experience autogynephilia also. If it's a real thing, like you think it is, Billie Eilish like had a quote that went famous about how she likes to masturbate in front of a mirror. That's autogynephilia if I've ever heard of it. So if it's only pathologized when trans women do it, like how does that make sense? We're just pathologizing normal human beings. I'm still not done talking. I'm literally still not done talking. You're pathologizing a behavior that is considered normal for cis women, but abnormal for trans women. It turns out if you're a woman and you understand yourself to be, oh my God, muting you. I'm muting you because I'm literally in the middle of making my point. If you pathologize something that is normal for cis women, when trans women do it, it's discriminatory and you're applying a different standard to people for no real reason. Trans women understand themselves to be women and they go through transition and they physically become female in a lot of ways. And yes, they want to sexually be treated like women. That's what women are like. So I don't understand, and nobody except Blanchard accepts this framework. So like, do you have something other than the obvious pervert who liked looking at sexual trans women? Who was like, ooh, we're going to put them into two categories, ugly trans women and sexy trans women. Do you have anything other than Blanchard? Please. I am unmuting you now.
Yes. So I think it's pathological when women do it as well. I think that we've gone way too far in accepting that kind of behavior. But the other thing is women don't make an entire lifestyle around autogynephilia. They don't demand that everybody else use certain languages and cater to their fetish.
Actually, they kind of do.
In public life, they don't.
They insist that you call them she, her. They insist that you call them bio.
They are women. When you
okay,
die,
but so are trans women.
In 500 years, the only thing that people will be able to know about you from your remains is that you were male. That is all they will be able to
That's
tell.
actually not even true.
Maybe your race, maybe your height. But
do you know what pseudoscience is, John?
Every chromosome in your body is male. Every single chromosome in your body is male.
John, do you know what pseudoscience is?
Yes. You know what a perfect example of pseudoscience is? It's this modern cultural Marxist nonsense that conflates.
That was a yes or no question.
Nope.
I'm answering. Listen. I let you go on your little rant. Can I finish speaking?
I'm going to mute you.
This is our show. We're trying to keep things on the rails.
All right. So what, John, you are engaging in is trying to resurrect an outdated pseudoscientific theory that literally maybe three people in the United States actively practice around right now. So you have like three guys on one hand in your corner, and we have the entire medical establishment from across all different disciplines on our side. And your argument is, well, there's just an overwhelming amount of evidence on the side of these three guys. And I'm here to tell you, because you aren't going to let people get a word in edgewise. I had to mute you. I'm here to tell you that what you are engaging in is as real as people who engage in like this idea of eugenics or, skull shape determining intelligence, all these different ideas that have been wildly shown to be not accurate. To us and to the wider scientific community, you're coming to us trying to say germ theory is not real. It's actually the balance of the four bodily humors that determines whether or not someone gets sick. That's silly. And your idea is silly and not backed up by the science or facts. I'm going to let you respond right now, but I want you to actually respond with any evidence for your position. Any at all. Sorry,
so you've, of course, made an
There we
appeal to
go.
popularity, which is a classic logical fallacy.
No, I made an
it's
appeal
ironic
to the...
Can I please speak uninterrupted? I've let you guys...
No.
I made an appeal to the preponderance of evidence that is aligned against you.
You haven't.
Study after study after study after study.
Rigor,
that is based upon the effectiveness of trans-affirming healthcare.
And I do in phrenology because the science is there.
What?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Are you also a race realist, John?
Yes.
Okay.
You are a laughable individual, John. You have bought in.
You're not letting me explain
from the
why.
what
I'm saying is pseudoscience, but everything that you guys have is pseudoscience because it doesn't apply. It doesn't hold to the same scientific rigor.
Bro, you bought into 1800s era flim-flam science, like Carnival Barker snake oil salesman bullshit.
You know what? Here's the good news. Trannies usually kill themselves before they're 40. So you guys should go off an example. You're freaks. You'll never be women.
Scientist ever in this field, and they will laugh you out of their lab.
You won't let. We'll see what you're a freak, and you're gonna kill yourself. You might as well do it now.
Statistically, John, you're much more likely to do that than us. So I hope you stay safe.
That's actually not true at all. So again, the correlation between your lifestyle choice and suicide is overwhelming.
Oh, John, but the correlation between your lifestyle choice and politics is way more overwhelming because we have accepting and lovely people in our lives.
I'm an engineer. I own my own home. I'm married. I have 2 children. You have nothing.
How are their skull shapes, John?
Debate show where you interrupt people.
John, how are their skull shapes doing? Are they going to be okay?
They are actually, yeah.
Is the race science is it aligned behind them? Are they going to be okay, John?
It is.
We're all worried.
Yeah. They both come from races that have pretty high documented average IQs. So, yeah.
John, your kids are going to fucking hate you. Best of luck.
You think so?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Well, you won't be here to find out, but, I tried to debate. You guys kept interrupting.
No, you didn't. You came in with a bunch of pseudoscientific bullshit, John.
You're just dismissing. You're dismissing my positions categorically using value judgments without letting me present the evidence.
John, you're citing a guy who's like 70 years out of date.
You're not capable because the facts are not on your side.
John, the facts aren't on your side. That's what we're trying to tell you. You came here with like a laughable lack of evidence.
Just because a lot of social scientists have fabricated studies that don't hold up to classical scientific rigor, it doesn't change reality. It doesn't change what we have always known. There's a reason these people,
which is the science was better in the 1800s.
Or written language. Excuse me?
The science was better in the 1800s, huh, John?
The science was better in the 40s and 50s and early 60s. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, back when it was dominated by race scientists?
Back when we split the atom and went to the moon and discover the double helix model.
Yeah, we could never go to the moon today, right, John?
The guy that did that, by the way, also is a race realist. So,
we could never go to the moon again, right, John? Definitely not a thing we could do right now.
Based on the epistemology that white people developed over hundreds of years, yeah, I guess we can.
Yeah, only white people involved in that. Definitely no one else.
It's really funny
overwhelmingly white people.
John,
actually.
Hold on.
And the non-white people that did were the
John. It's really funny that you come in here and you want equal footing, you want equal time, you want to be treated seriously when you are a racist and a transphobe and probably a homophobe too. Like, being gay used to be considered a mental illness as well. And I would bet that you believe that. You believe in phrenology. You don't know anything about anthroarchaeology. It's just hilarious. Like, it's just, we're making fun of you because your position is laughable. Have a great day. I hung up.
I can't believe it.
That was crazy.
That guy got unthawed from like a glacier or something, and
Encino Man up in here.
Just, my God.
Jesus
also
Christ.
worth noting, 1920s, 1930s, the heyday of science. It's when we made a lot of huge strides on transgender healthcare.
So true. Yeah.
But
Oh boy.
maybe all of the autogynephiles who have taken over science in all the different fields, maybe they covered it up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm taking brain damage.
I should legitimately. I'm receiving psychic damage from that.
Also, wasn't it literally black women who came up with like the math for the trajectory to get objects from orbit back into? Yeah.
Black women coded by hand how to get to the moon. And this man's being like, I'm a race scientist. I'm a race realist. Certain races have higher IQs. My fucking God.
I wonder what's going to happen to his suicide rate after his divorce and when his kids won't talk to him again.
Yeah. You know?
Crazy.
Probably not going to be great.
Probably not going to be great. Well, you know, we still have open lines. We're going to be taking calls for another couple hours. 720-619-2288. If you think that you can do better than that, are we going to do it? We're going to permaban John? There, I did it. No fucking point in taking. I mean, it's like funny, I guess, but it's like hard to keep a conversation on the rails with people like that. They want to just like go and go and go, and then they get pissed off at the fact that this is our show and we're trying to keep things on the rails so you can't talk uninterrupted for 5 fucking minutes.
Do you think John just refused to learn math because it uses Arabic numerals? just too low IQ for John.
Those brown people. Oh boy.
Algebra. It's of the devil. Can't use that.
Oh God. Okay. Well, let's look at the poll. Let's take a little bit of a breather.
Let's do it.
Let some calls come in if the calls are going to come in. Yeah. So the poll for this week: should kids' TV shows and movies with trans characters be rated PG or above? I saw this on Aaron in the Morning, and I didn't like look too far into it. So I don't know if Jack, if you had details on it.
I looked into it last night. Basically, Brendan Carr, head of the FCC, wants to alter how TV ratings are done to put the existence of gender identity in a television show, you know, a non-traditional gender identity, as one of the pieces of content warnings. So, like, you know, up there with like violence, tobacco, gore, etc. Should be listed in whatever the rating is of the show. Which obviously I think that's complete bullshit. And by the way, if you guys think it's bullshit too, that has gone to public comment for the FCC. And I'm going to post a link in chat, if that's all right, to where you can go post comment if you disagree with it.
Yeah. And like the tricky thing about this too is that like a lot of this stuff is voluntary. Like the people who make the movies and stuff, they voluntarily have this, like the movie picture ratings thing that they do. That's like a voluntary group that they've formed. So like the FCC has like fairly limited control over movie ratings and such. And even going further into that, like Netflix and these online streamers are not held to the same standard. They are not governed by the FCC in the same way. And so this would require a lot of basically private entities to get on board. I mean, obviously this administration is not above trying to influence what private entities do, right? We've got everything with Jimmy Fallon and Colbert and everything. So clearly there is this, you know, anti-free speech, anti-First Amendment kind of movement in our current administration. But
well, clearly it will fail because all the conservatives are free speech warriors, right?
Exactly. Yeah. They're all about free speech.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically PG means parental guidance. Obviously, if you didn't know that, G means like good for general audiences. So like something that's rated G is good for babies, and PG might be like they say hell in it or something. So yeah, basically the idea that parents should be notified. Basically, this is like trying to make don't say gay laws apply to a bunch of private institutions across our entire society effectively. So if you think about in Florida, all the don't say gay bills passed, You cannot bring up being gay or trans in schools. Teachers cannot correct about their pronouns if there's a transgender teacher. People are leaving the state over this. People are losing their jobs over this. And so, like, obviously, the state does have some amount of control, direct control over the public school system and how teachers interact with students and everything. But this is certainly pushing that to now anything that children could possibly be exposed to in the private sector might also be subject to those same types of limitations. And obviously that is problematic because, I mean, it's not like these companies aren't conservative anyway. I've seen some commentary from, like, in Aaron's article, there was like a worker from Pixar who said that Disney executives are basically telling them they cannot put any kind of LGBTQ representation in their stuff. So, you know, we're talking about one trans character in all of movies anyway, right? We're not talking about something that's happening regularly in the first place. So it's like putting a hat on a hat. It's like we don't really even need this level of pressure because the companies themselves are behaving pretty conservatively right now anyway. But anyway, obviously, I think this is stupid and awful. Like, obviously, if kids are trans and they're growing up in an anti-trans home, we want them to have access to information, to normalize them if they're not being affirmed, and not just like, oh, they have to start dealing with all of this fresh when they're 18 or older. So yeah, lots of reasons to be opposed to this. And like Jack was saying, you can do your public comments and let them know how unhelpful this is at the very minimum. So yay, the world is getting worse every day. Yay. Okay, well, don't forget to hit the like button as we move on to our next call. So the policy, I think, with this caller that Jovan has, because we did talk to this caller on Calling It Now, or yeah, we talked to him on Calling It Now recently when I was on with Jovan, which I will also be on, I think, with Jovan on Calling It Now after this Transatlantic Call-In show today. So stick around at the end of the show if you want to see us talk MAGA and politics and all that kind of junk. But the policy with BAD is that we do 10 minutes and then just hang up. So I'm willing to stick to that because I don't really know what we're going to get beyond 10 minutes with this.
Okay, like a box of chocolates. Never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, precisely. Okay, so
I can get behind that. Yeah.
We are going to talk to Bad, whose pronouns are he/them, from Illinois. Bad, you are live on the line with Luxander and Riverboat Jack. How you doing?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Doing all right.
Doing
okay. A little
bit
sick, a little bit under the weather. My voice.
All right. No, I called in because I seen Trans Alley there and I never heard that. But then your person that put me on explained that I read it wrong. You know, I told her about me and shit. And we rapped a little bit, and we good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's how I am with everybody. It's just everybody want to talk shit to me and clown me for asking questions, and I don't know.
Cool. Yeah. So like, trans ally, meaning like you're on the side of trans people, you support trans people, and you want good things for them, right?
Yeah, like you'd be willing to throw down for a trans friend, you know?
Well, my little brother, my baby brother, he's the tell me if you guys can hear me because my Bluetooth died, so I'm switching it out. I got you on speaker right now. But my baby brother, he's 28 years old, and he trans. So when I call in and I'm asking all this shit, it's because he won't talk to me about it. He keeps telling me I'll never understand and whatever. And because I'm curious over it, you know, I don't get shit out of him. And then when I call to talk to you guys about it or somebody, I get shit about, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, I'm fucking stupid and whatever. And I'm just bona fide fucking curious, you know?
Well, what would you like to learn about today?
Well, I don't know. No one ever fucking asked me that shit. So I'm kind of confused because every time I jump on somewhere, I'm getting yelled and screamed at that I'm stupid and whatever the fuck. And then I'm like, what the hell? Fuck you. Because how you going to want people to respect you guys if you guys ain't respecting people? You know what I'm saying?
Agreed. I'd love to chat about a topic you're confused about and we can clear some up.
All right, well, let's start with what you had up there about the should transgender characters be rated PG or higher for children? I mean, for me, because I don't know shit about it. Why don't you guys do a transgender character for Sex in the City, except a transgender version for adults on like Stars or some adult channel on cable for yourselves? Why you guys got to advocate that for children though? Now you're pushing a child agenda that's kind of fucking creepy and weird.
Well, so number one, I love that idea. We should have an all trans Sex in the City cast.
That does sound fun.
Number two, it's because like trans people are also just normal people who like have kids and like go to work and like, you know, exist in the world. And so like, because we live in a society where like, you know, there are gay men who just are able to go out in the world and be gay. And there are trans people who are able to go out in the world and be trans. And like, they aren't like trying to predate on children any more than like Barney the dinosaur is trying to eat children and like on that television show, you know, like it's
and
just
they're thriving. But yeah, they're thriving. Gay people have been thriving since the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. It's until Barney started eating children that they start getting flack over it.
Well,
I forgot that Bad doesn't know about AIDS. He's like, gay people were thriving in the 80s and 90s. It's not like hundreds of thousands of them died to an illness that we just, like, Reagan decided we were not going to study or bother to care about.
But I'm not talking about AIDS in the community. I'm talking about why were they able to thrive without the AIDS, without the disease, without the bullshit. Why were they able to have pride parades and have these big giant parties and open up clubs and bars and do karaoke? And they thrived for years because they were Barney, being beautiful, not fucking with kids.
Take it back down. Take it back down a notch.
Party came in.
We're trying to have a good conversation. We're trying to have a productive conversation. Okay. Take the volume down a little bit. Calm down. Take a breath. We're just trying to have a conversation, okay? Like, gay people existed in a subculture. Gay people existed in a subculture. It was considered bad to be gay in the 90s. Like, my dad told me, like, everybody around him, like, treated it like it was the worst thing you could be, okay? They were existing in a marginalized area off to the side in society. That wasn't mainstream acceptance, which I think is kind of what you're trying to drive toward, like the idea that currently being gay is more or less accepted in the mainstream, right? We had like Will and Grace. We've got these like TV shows showing that being gay is normal. And that type of treating it like it's normal does start with basic education about what type of people exist in the world. So when we're talking about like, you know, educating on what type of families people have, right? When you're talking to kindergartners, you say lots of people have a mommy and a daddy, but sometimes a kid has a grandma instead, or they have two daddies or two mommies. And we're just talking about like family structures and basic stuff like that. And we also teach kids like there are Black people, you know, if you're growing up in a place that's predominantly white, you want the Black kids to feel normal. You want the white kids to treat the Black kids like they are normal and not ask them weird questions about like, why do they look like that and stuff. So you teach them like, Black people are a type of person. They came from Africa, whatever. They have darker skin, da-da-da-da-da. And so trans people are also just a type of person that we hope to educate kids about. Because here's the thing, when it just like focusing in on the gay education part, I know lots of people who were called the F slur way before they were taught what gay is. So like, and by other children, I mean, like on the schoolyard, like the bully is calling this kid an anti-gay slur before that kid even knows that they're gay.
That's how my generation was. That's how my generation was.
So we're trying to get ahead of that.
It's not just about teaching. It's not about teaching the kids. You got grandparents. You got this. There's Black people in the world. There's this. There's actually videos circulating with parents sneaking in and catching their children getting twerked on by grown-ass men in drag queen outfits, and then for pre-kindergarten children, and then 5-10-year-olds twerking back to these people. That's the Black I'm talking. That's the Barney I'm talking about, eating children and shit.
Dancing?
So, wait. So, we're kind of moving to a different topic, because you wanted to ask about, like, trans people. Why do trans people have to be in, like, children's shows? Did you watch like Sesame Street growing up?
Yeah, but we didn't have fucking talks about transgenderism, but she said it's talks with children to let people know. See, I can't even talk, man.
No, I'm trying to make a broader point, and if we get lost, then I won't be able to make that point. So, Sesame Street was attacked relentlessly by conservatives because it showed children, in the inner city, integrated, like interacting with like kids of different races, with different kinds of family makeups. Like it was a controversial show when it launched and it got attacked for that. And so the point I'm trying to make here is that there are lots of kids right now who have a transgender dad or a transgender aunt or like a transgender grandparent. And like they want to be able to see their families represented in those shows too, right? It's not about like trying to indoctrinate kids. It's just trying to show kids the different types of people that, they're likely to encounter in their city or their state or in their lives. That's all it is. And now the drag performances, that's a different thing. But when we're talking about children's shows in particular, it's just because trans people exist more publicly now. And so children's media reflects that.
All right. Now, the thing with that is it's not just shows on TV that you can allow your child, like you give them a phone, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, no more phones. So if it's going to be on TV, you could either watch it or tell your kids, hell fucking no. There's a difference between it being pushed in our schools and there's porn books in our schools about little Johnny cracking little fucking Jimmy in the ass and shit like that in public schools for everybody, every child to view. Now it's different because it's not just you viewing your child how you want to be raised with your trans child and you being a trans parent. Now you're pushing that shit in front of me and my kid in school. And my brother's tranny. I don't give a fuck about the trans thing. I give a fuck about why is it being pushed in the schools and all over on children.
I'm trying to explain it to you.
And all. See, I can't even fucking talk. See, I can't even
hear
talk.
What you're saying. I hear what you're saying, Bad.
No, you don't hear what I'm saying because you cut me off. You're doing
because you're getting repetitive.
I'm in the middle of
you're getting repetitive.
Cut me off like Johnny cut you off.
You've made the point that you don't like it in schools. And I'm trying to address that point. You're getting a little bit repetitive about it.
Let me finish it, and then you could address me. I'll let you finish everything.
No, because here's the thing. It's my show, and I'm trying to keep things on the rails. I've muted you for a second because I think you did make the point, and I didn't need you to continue getting, like, harping on the point. The point that you were making was you are fine with the fact that you can control what your child sees at home, but you don't like that you can't control what the child is being exposed to at school. And so here's the thing, Bad. If you have a gay kid or a trans kid and you are hiding that information from them, those kids still know that there's something different about them. They still feel weird. They just feel weird, like they're the only person who's ever been like this in the whole history of forever. They feel strange. They don't know how to articulate their feelings. They don't have anyone to talk to. So we educate in the schools because, again, this is a normal variation of humans and human behavior. It's just a thing that happens. And so we need an environment for kids to learn about this stuff in a non-stigmatized manner so that, if you are teaching your kid, and I'm not saying that you do this, Bad, but if you were the kind of parent who taught your kid that being gay is bad and you are dropping the F slur at home, then your kid is going to go to school and bully other kids. Like if there's a boy who kind of seems a little bit girly, your kid is going to call that kid the F slur and like make fun of them and ostracize them. And that kid, if there's no education in the schools, is not going to be able to like understand what's happening. They're not going to be able to fight back against it. They might not even know that they can tell their teacher that they're being called the F slur. So like we're talking about normalizing this in the schools because it is a normal part of human behavior, right? Like there are white people in this country, Bad, who think that like we shouldn't have Black History Month, that their kids shouldn't be taught about Black excellence. And like, are we going to capitulate to the worst people and say all of our children are going to be deprived of the opportunity to learn about the fact that like Black women hand coded our like moon landing calculations. Like that is an important part of our American history and our world history, and it's not fair to the kids to either kids. It's not fair to the kid who's the bully for them to be having that experience, and it's not fair to the kid who is being bullied that they're all being deprived of the opportunity to learn about natural and normal human variation. I've unmuted you. I'm sorry for muting you. Please continue with your thoughts.
The whole thing is it's not, you're trying to normalize it, but it's not normal because you're trying to put it in these schools to educate these kids. Who are you to educate children on that shit? Educate your own children. How about that?
So,
what does normal mean to you?
Thrived for years. There you go, cutting me off again. See,
I'm asking you a clarifying question.
There's no respect. Why would you guys expect me to respect you when you guys don't even respect me? Because
I'm asking you a clarifying question. You made a statement, and I'm asking you to clarify what you mean.
I fucking hate you guys. And because you guys have no regard for people's fucking lives and their privacy with their children makes me want to just fucking go beat the shit out of every single one of you at every turn, every protest, every no king this, no king that.
You should be really careful with what you say because we have enough information to report you to the FBI. Like, I just want to be, somebody muted you. I want to be clear. You should be really careful what you say on here because we do have enough information about you to report your violent threats to the government. So, like, calm down. I've told you repeatedly to pull back, chill out, relax.
Also, neither of us have raised our voices at you or have been rude to you in any way. And you've been swearing at us, you have been yelling at us, you've been ranting and raving at us, and you just threatened us with physical assault. So, like, I don't know, fucking check yourself, man. Like, seriously, we've been treating you with respect. We've let you talk, and when we have a question about something you've said, we've interrupted you, yes, to ask you more questions about what you're trying to say. So, like, it's not a sign of disrespect. It's a sign that we're interested in your argument. And it's unfortunate because I have a lot of things I would like to add, but I can't get a word in edgewise. We're probably going to unmute you here and see if we can course correct this conversation.
I'm not sure that's such a good idea. I think Bad, especially after a threat of violence, I think Bad has well overstayed his welcome. If you can't be respectful and calm in this space, you're coming into our fucking house. You got to take your shoes off and chill the fuck out.
Yeah. Well, Bad, you got like 4 minutes longer than what Jovan usually gives you. So we'll talk to you later, man. Maybe.
Man, it's so unfortunate too, because like I wanted to make a lot of points about the kind of books that are in the schools.
Yeah.
You know, like Shakespeare. Should kids not learn Shakespeare? Because in Shakespeare, there's like a dick joke every other page. Like in Romeo and Juliet, one of the most famous plays taught to like middle schoolers. Like there are scenes with like Juliet talking about how she really, really hopes nightfall comes so that she and Romeo can fuck. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Chaucer with Canterbury Tales. There are stories in there about like people fucking like crazy, and that's available in most school libraries. Or like, hey, the Bible. Ever read the Song of Solomon? Like, my God, like when you start getting into that shit, like you start talking about like, oh, the trans people want to indoctrinate kids into sex, and it's like, bitch, look at the works of classic literature you're already okay with them learning and having free access to, and like trans people just existing in literature that they have access to, that's not a problem. And like, you clearly don't have a problem with kids learning about sex in this way because the classic works of literature that you supposedly want them to learn have sex in them. So like, I don't know, maybe learn what the fuck you actually want before you start threatening to do acts of violence to people. Like, no wonder your brother doesn't want to talk to you.
No fucking wonder, legitimately. And I mean, we're just kind of, I'm guessing, anytime that happens, I'm guessing that they're misgendering their sibling. So I'm like...
That's probably true.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, no fucking wonder your family is gradually cutting you out. Anyway, we have some more calls in the lineup, and they're looking kind of fun. This one may or may not be contentious based on like the initial call-in screen notes versus what we landed on after they were processed. But I'm gonna introduce this caller, and then I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick. We are gonna talk to Philip, he/him pronouns from Australia. Philip, you are live on the line with Luxander and Riverboat Jack. How you doing?
Hello, ladies.
Howdy,
Hello,
Philip.
ladies.
I don't consider myself a lady, but thank you for being polite.
She's got, I love your outfit.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
You look really cool.
Yeah. And Philip, can you just pull the microphone like a couple inches away from your face because it's spiking the audio and it's quite unpleasant.
Oh, yes. I'll take it off that figure. Yeah, I'm gay, right? But I've sort of experienced the idea that I was gay just recently. Although I always knew I was gay, but I didn't know how to put a word to it. But the thing is, I've been sort of researching and looking at things, and I find that a lot of gay stuff is very sexualized. And but why can't I but just be a normal person, like a straight person, and just have a normal life? Why does it have to be sexualized? I don't understand that. And I'm really lucky that I've got a really good friend, Stacey, and she's transgender, and she's the one who helped me come out and get out of the closet. Mind you, my closet was dusty and moldy. But the thing is, I'm very blessed for my transgender friend. And when it comes to pronouns and stuff like that, I'm not really into it. The thing is like my friend Stacey, she's a woman as far as I'm concerned. You know, so I just treat her like a woman because that's who she is. You know, that's all right. She was born as a male, but as far as I'm concerned, she's a woman. And I don't know what pronouns I need to go by, but I'm a guy, you know. But the thing is, I watched a video on YouTube with this person wearing a G-string, and it was a transgender person, and they were dancing around on a stage, virtually doing a strip act virtually in front of kids. I don't agree with that. And my friend Stacey doesn't agree with that either. And I would like my introduction into my community that I believe I belong to, not to be sexualized. And, you know, and the thing is
so what is your
really good.
What is your question? Can you boil it down for me? You've touched on a lot of different topics.
My question is, what do you think about the queer community that sexualizes everything, and then the other side of the queer community that doesn't want it sexualized?
So I don't think that... Oh, sorry.
I went to the Sydney Mardi Gras. You might know that. It's a big sort of thing. They had a paper mache penis, and there was people riding on it half naked. I mean, that's really disrespectful to the gay community because we're not all about penises, paper mache ones. You know, the thing is just like...
all right. So to kind of maybe get to the heart of your question, you know, why are some people in the LGBTQ community more sexual and other members of the LGBTQ community not so sexual, right? Is that kind of boil it down?
Definitely.
Okay, so one, it's entirely up to you to what degree you want to engage with the sexual aspects of like the LGBTQ community. You know, if that's not your thing, if it's not your thing to go to like a Mardi Gras party and engage with a paper mache penis, like it's not your thing and you don't have to go, right?
That's funny when you said that.
But also, like, part of the reason that there is kind of this public sexualized, you know, idea alongside the LGBTQ community is because the same laws that were used to restrict, and I can't really speak to Australia as much as the United States, but here in the United States, the same laws that were used to restrict the LGBTQ community were also used to restrict different communities like the leather community, etc., the BDSM community being another one. And so when the movement for, LGBTQ liberation came along, it came hand in hand against those laws with these different subgroups that also marched alongside in solidarity with the LGBTQ community. And so there are going to be elements where there's like some crossover there, and there are going to be some events where there's some crossover there. But also there are going to be plenty of events in any kind of these public facing, big celebrations that aren't sexualized, that are made for people of all ages. But that's kind of what you are noticing, is that there is this component there, and it grows directly out of the struggle for liberation and for freedom and for rights.
Can I say something? I watch, America is very different to Australia, but the thing is, if I grew up in America now, they would probably call me transgender, because the thing is, we had a dress-up box. I don't know if you know what that means, but we had like dresses and costumes and police and cowboy outfits and ballerina dresses and that. But I always put the ballerina dress on, and I always liked wearing it. And I used to run around in the dress, and I used to love it. But the thing is if I was in some sort of modern family in America, maybe they might thought I was trans or something. I really don't think they should start transitioning any child at all. They should wait till they're old enough to make the decision for themselves.
Well,
I mean,
so wait. So
to
interrupt you and get at the heart of this. Wait. Sorry. Wait. So number one, dressing in a dress-up box in a dress is not something where people in America are going to be like, you're trans now. You put on the dress, you're trans now. Like, that's not how that works. Number one. And number two, the reason that there is a thing like puberty blockers are a part of gender affirming care is specifically to give children enough time to decide that is what they really want. It's something that can delay the onset of puberty so that they have the time to make that more informed decision. So like
I'm thing you're advocating for to understand that.
Yeah, the thing you're advocating for is already like the primary practice when it comes to kids. And with kids and dressing up and all that stuff, there are plenty of cis boys who like play around with dress-up boxes here in the US and dress up in dresses, but aren't trans. That's not like the thing that makes the parents bring a kid to like their GP and talk about gender feelings. What prompts that is a kid coming to their parents and being like, I don't really feel like a boy, mom, dad. I think I feel like a girl. I'd like to be called a girl. That is something that happens, and that is what kind of starts that process. But then there's an evaluation that happens between parents, the children, the doctors, and then specialists get brought in later who specialize in this kind of treatment. So, and all of that is designed over the course of years to prevent a mistake from being made. And like, yeah.
And I tell you something else too, I don't know whether it's a gay gene or something like that, but the thing is I hate my voice. I've got a squeaky, horrible voice. And then when I speak on the phone, sometimes people think I'm a woman sometimes. I mean, I just wish that I had a deeper voice, but I can't really change my voice. But the thing is, it's just the way it is. But I'm not against people having squeaky voices, but I just wish I blended in better.
You can actually change your voice. You can get voice training, and it changes like the pitch and depth of your voice. You can actually find people who can help you do that. Like speech therapists are a thing, and you have access to them even if you're not trans.
True.
Yeah. And I mean, I've never been with a guy before because I'm only young, but the thing is like, I guess I'm scared of doing that, but I know I'm gay because I've always been attracted to other men or guys or other people, whatever this and that. And I've never had a girlfriend Well, I did have a girlfriend once, but we just held hands. We didn't do nothing. But the thing is I think the sex part should be taken out of it, because just be normal and just accept who you are as a person, and then be friends, and then see what happens, and then let it go from there. But I don't like the gay Mardi Gras in Australia. I've been to it once in Sydney, and then I just thought it was too sexualized, but the thing is, then we had a whole bunch of police officers that were gay and everything like that were marching in the parade, and I thought they were pretty cool because they were wearing their uniforms. But why do you need to be half naked and wear a really tiny shorts or G-strings and just walk down the street?
I just want to jump in on this, because part of the reason, so Pride is a celebration of sexual liberation, because, and like, again, I don't know a lot about the history of Australia as far as y'all's Pride. Like, in the English-speaking world, generally, being gay has been stigmatized. It's something that people have been made to feel ashamed of. Right. So we're reclaiming Pride because we live in an era of shame, basically. So, like, Pride is not meant to be a family-friendly event. It's meant to be a protest. It's meant to be confrontational and subversive, because society still to this day treats even just being gay like it's a bad thing, right? Like, we have conversations about this all the time. It goes hand in hand. A lot of the time when people are anti-trans, they're also anti-gay. If they think that being trans is a mental illness, that it's likely that they also think that being gay is a mental illness. So in a hypothetical future world where we're not combating against that, then maybe Pride could be different. But right now it is still.
My friend Stacey, she's the best, because she supported me and has been there for me and really helped me. And I've never seen her as a trans person, because I just accept her as a woman, and that's who she is. She's a woman, and well, she's a younger one. But the thing is I just see her as that. And I think, well, she does a really good job at dressing. She dresses well and she looks gorgeous. But the thing is even if she didn't, it wouldn't matter. But the thing is I guess I struggle with it a lot, because, not with the trans stuff, because my friend's fabulous. But the thing is, I struggle with the gay thing because my father's very critical and he's not good to me about it, because I don't know, he thinks I'm gonna burn in hell and I'm the worst person in the world. But the thing is, I don't know how to please my father. My mother's very kind and stuff like that, but I know they don't like me. But the thing is, I'm not stressed or pissed off about it too much. I'm very blessed. I'm very independent. But the thing is, why can't people just love each other and just not care, and just be happy for people to live their lives? I don't understand it.
Well, because some people are bigots and they want to make your business their business. And that's unfortunate. I also just want to point out that you're talking about going to Mardi Gras as opposed to going to Pride.
Oh, yeah.
And
I didn't
Mardi
catch that.
Gras, if you're not familiar with what Mardi Gras is, it's a celebration of
I know the Mardi Gras in the US, it's a little different. And they have all those necklaces and they throw them around.
Yeah, they throw them around.
People notoriously flash their tits. Yes. Yeah. It's because you're getting over, because it's about getting out of Lent, which is a time where you're giving up libations, you're giving up something. And so, when you come back to Mardi Gras, it's like about celebrating all of the stuff you weren't supposed to be doing for the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, so if you're going to Mardi Gras and like sexual stuff is not for you, maybe don't go to like the main Mardi Gras celebration. Maybe that's just not your scene. Because not every scene, like in the LGBTQ community, is for everybody, Like sometimes, if you're not into BDSM, going to like a dungeon club is not going to be your thing.
Yeah.
What's BDSM? I don't understand that. What's that mean?
Oh, honey.
Oh, I don't want to explain that to you.
Yeah, basically, like, if you think of like kinks or like people who like wear leather and like it's like sexually transgressive things. Obviously, like you said that you're a virgin, so I don't want to like spoil a bunch of stuff for you. Or like, ruin you or anything like that. But basically, it's just like different kinds of sexual practices that are atypical or that are not common and that, might be a little bit
spicy.
A little bit spicy. Yeah, a little bit spicy or spicy time.
I'm really lucky.
More like a ghost pepper than a jalapeno.
With my friend Stacy, if I didn't have her in my life would be very different now. I'd still be hiding away, But the thing is, she gave me the confidence to be myself, and I'm really blessed in that, because she's a star to me, And then, and I guess I helped her with the makeup one time, but the thing is, I was terrible at it. I made it look like a clown virtually, but she washed it off. But the thing is I'm not good with makeup, but yeah, I'm really blessed that I had a good friend that loved me and cared about me and helped me. And I'm very blessed in that way. And she helped me find my freedom and be myself. And that was a blessing to me. And she never done anything bad to me. She never touched me in an inappropriate way. Mind you, we give each other big hugs and stuff like that. But she really blessed me so much. And I just am very grateful because she found her freedom and she's being her real self. And I'm just very blessed. And
I'm glad to hear that, because even one supportive person in a queer person's life.
What's that?
Yeah. Even one supportive person in a queer person's life can make a huge difference for them. So, you said that your dad is not accepting.
Definitely.
So I'm glad that you have your friend.
And she looks really great in knee-high boots too. So, you know what I mean? I couldn't afford those boots, but the thing is it's really cool. And I'm very blessed, and I'm really glad that I can call America from Australia. But the thing is, what I want to see happen, I don't think children should be indoctrinated, but I think they should be taught that everything is okay. Not everything's okay, obviously, but look, if I was in primary school and I was told there's no shame in being gay, there's no shame in being transgender or whatever this is, don't need to be taught about it in a sexualized way. I would have been comfortable, and I would have been happy to say to my mother or my dad, mind you, my dad doesn't like it, but I would have been happy to say, I'm gay. But I was so scared, and I kept it hidden for so long because I was petrified about the reaction that I would get, but I think that needs to be normalized. I think it doesn't need to be curriculum in a school, but the thing is, I think that children should be able to understand the fact that if you feel this way, it's okay. If you feel that way, it's okay. It's like, doesn't matter, whatever. You can choose who you love, and it's okay to choose who you love.
Yeah, I would say, our position, or at least my position, is it's all about age appropriate. So, it's if you're starting out young, then it's just about mommies and daddies. And if you get to a level of if you're getting sex ed in school, if the straight kids are getting sex ed and being taught about condoms and stuff, then we should have the same type of information available for covering topics of same-sex relations as well. But I'm glad that you have your person, you have your safe person, Philip. And we do have some other calls waiting, and so I'm really appreciative of your call. We are going to move on to our next person.
Thank you so much, girls. I think you're fabulous, and thank you so much for giving me your time.
Thanks, Philip. We appreciate you. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Cool. Well, sometimes you gotta have some moments for the young people. Sometimes you gotta talk to the young people and kind of help them get a sense of their place in community. Jack, you're in your 30s, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I don't know if you had the same experience of suddenly in your 20s learning a lot more about the gay community and our history and getting like hit like a truck with this feeling of like, I mean, partially because I'm like a white person and so I don't have like a huge cultural background in that way where it's like a shared people with a shared history and shared struggle. But like the realization of what the AIDS like epidemic was like and how we were treated, and learning that the first medicines that were available for it would make people go blind. I went to a big art exhibit that was all about like AIDS and people like using their infected blood to make art and stuff like that. And it was traumatizing a little bit. And it's like, I'm trying to like pay it forward to the next generation to the extent that that's possible, to help them understand that, you know, just because you currently don't think being gay is bad because our society is a little bit better now, doesn't mean that, you know, literally 30 years ago, it wasn't still actively being stigmatized, that conversation about HIV/AIDS were not being swept under the rug, that like Princess Diana was a trailblazer in shaking the hands of people who were confirmed to have HIV.
Yeah, because there were a lot of like pervasive myths about like, you know, how you got AIDS, how you got HIV. And like some people literally thought if you touched people with AIDS, you could get AIDS.
Yeah.
It was a big deal when Princess Diana was like going around touching and like shaking hands with AIDS patients. And like, it's an issue that affects me and my family because when I was in my 20s, I learned that one of my cousins had died because of AIDS.
I have an uncle.
It was like the big family secret that he had been gay and that he had died of AIDS. Like people didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And like the degree to which a lot of people in America kind of quietly tried to cover it up, like especially in like more heteronormative families or circles. It's very bizarre, but like I know that, for example, my dad reacted very poorly to me coming out as trans because in part he was worried that I would get AIDS, and like obviously also a lot of other bigotry, but like I know in his mind like my cousin's death loomed really, really large. And so it is something that is difficult to put into words to capture kind of the full scope of what happened there.
Yeah. And like it was horrifying, and it's understandable to be like, oh, I don't want that to happen to someone in my family. That doesn't mean that it's less harmful for that to be someone's first reaction. Like, oh no, you're gonna get the gay disease.
Yep.
It was my mom's uncle. So like my great uncle had passed away like right around the time that I was born, actually, from like AIDS related complications. So it wasn't quite like so hush hush in my family, but it was definitely like, it was a big deal and it was scary. And the fact that we are now at a place where you can treat HIV and we've cured it a couple of times, like a handful of instances, and that even just taking the daily medication can put you at a level of like, it's no longer possible to transmit at all. Undetectable equals untransmissible. All of the quilts being laid out on the lawn of the Washington Memorial?
Yeah.
The big dildo one. I just always think of it as like a big penis.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, it's a big deal, and I want to make sure that the young people understand the context of this and how like short the time is, how we are not far removed from this reality. Like that Princess Diana thing happened in 1987. So not much longer before we were born, there was this, you know, huge stigma around it. So yeah, our struggle is a shared struggle in the queer community. Cool. Well, our lines are still technically open. If you want to try to get in here real quick at the end, we are still prioritizing the controversial calls or the contentious calls. We're going to be still taking calls for like probably about another hour before we move into our super chats segment. And don't forget, your super chats of $5 or more will be read out by us, your wonderful hosts. And you can get your votes in hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Jack. The loser of that competition has to defend a silly position. And at some point, those will go up in a poll in the chat, and you'll be able to vote on which silly position you want us to defend. Arden will be workshopping that shortly. In the meantime, are there any calls that seem particularly interesting to you?
29.5 or 31.
29.5 or 31. Okay, I would like to talk to, let's get Alex, any/all pronouns from Alabama. Alex, you are live on the line with Luxander and Riverboat. Jack, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Good. You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes,
great.
we can.
Okay, awesome.
What is
nice to meet
your
you guys. I
topic for
appreciate
today?
your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I grew up in Alabama. I'm 27. It's one of those things, whenever I grew up, I didn't really think about any kind of gender problems and stuff like that. I always just grew up calling everybody dude, girl, just running around. I didn't see much issue with it.
Sure.
You still hear me?
Yep. Can you maybe just take the microphone and pull it a couple inches away from your face?
I have your stream on in the background.
Oh yeah, that does make it a little confusing.
Right now?
Yeah. Can you just, when you have the microphone, can you move it like a couple inches further away from your face, because the audio keeps spiking?
Yeah, this is better.
That is better. Cool. All right. So yeah, continue with your topic.
So my issue is that some of the things, despite not having any issue with them, I feel like the ball's been rolling so fast. A lot of things are getting lost in translation amongst different people in the community. For example, I grew up in high school. I'm sure you guys know about like the trap stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, familiar.
Whenever I was in high school, all the guys were going around showing stuff like that, and they were basically femboys, and I didn't feel that uncomfortable about it, but you can tell it made all the other guys feel very uncomfortable. I don't know if that's because they weren't comfortable where they were at, or if it was genuinely something that upset them. I don't know. But my thought on that was always, it's not really a big deal. But for instance, something like stealthing, I think is a bigger deal. And something me and my wife had talked about before was that if I was on a date with somebody, my assumption would be they would be female. If I take them back home and they have the opposite genitalia, it's not necessarily that I would have an issue with that, but I would prefer honesty up front. Is that necessarily strange to ask for or to consider?
I don't think so. But you also have to realize that the reason trans people tend to stealth is out of a concern for their safety, right? Like
Absolutely.
They're not, and so for me personally, as like a best practice, if you were going on a date with somebody, I've always been upfront, but also that can come with its own dangers, because there are some people who deliberately try and like honeypot trans women in particular.
Oh, yeah, sure.
It can be a whole problem. So it's a messy social situation, and I understand the desire for honesty. And as a general rule, I'm all about honesty and forthrightness. I think it's the best policy, especially when dating, or especially when going on dates or going into any kind of sexual scenario. Absolutely. So there's that element. And then there's just also the element of like, some trans people, they think it's obvious that they're trans. And so they don't necessarily want to have a potentially super awkward conversation. And they just kind of assume that everyone can tell that they're trans, which is not necessarily the case. And so it's a messy social situation. And honestly, I think the best policy is just asking up front, like, hey, how do you identify? And like having those conversations up front from both sides in a date, you know? So yes, totally understand where you're coming from.
That's a wonderful answer. I appreciate it, because that's one of the things me and my wife had talked about, because I kind of feel the same way as you. The idea is hopefully whoever you're engaging with would be willing to have that, open conversation with you in the beginning. But me and my wife are both speculators. Neither one of us are trans, so we were both just looking at it from the outside in. And for a lot of these progressive issues, I work in a plant, and so I work with mostly rather conservative men. And so I try to work and be in the middle, but then sometimes they'll bring those things to me and I don't have an answer other than like you said, you know? And so I'm trying to find ways to maybe expand my mind a bit to where I can understand the situation better. Cause like for stuff like, you know, I don't know if you guys know the artist is Brokey or Brokey.
I don't think so.
I don't know that one.
They're a rap artist, but they're trans femme, if I'm not using the improper term. You know, and again, I don't see any problem with that because just like with the idea of like with the traps and femboy stuff, to me, femininity isn't just what you have in your pants, just like masculinity, you know, because I grew up, and whenever I grew up, like I said, I'm only 27, but there were in high school, there were some women that were dykes, and, you know, that's totally awesome and cool, and that's just who they were. But it's one of those things where I'm trying to figure out how to have those conversations with people because, you know, rudely, but someone would say, you know, it's a lady with a penis. And I'm like, that's not the case. They're just more feminine than they are masculine. And they're like, well, that's not how sex is. And I'm like, well, see, you've already missed the marker because we're not talking about sex. We're talking about gender.
I mean, yeah, it's a complicated area with lots of crossover. And like, you know, when it comes to dating in particular, I heard a really great talk one time at a convention that was one of the speakers said, like, when you're talking about like sex conversations or like how to have safe sex or hooking up or whatever, there are like pants on conversations and pants off conversations. So it's like, you know, you want to negotiate certain things before the pants come off. So like I'm of the opinion, yeah. So like when the pants are off, you can be like, I want you to touch me there or whatever. Or like, if you have like a hard don't touch me there, that might be a pants on. Like before you get in the heat of the moment, you might want to be like, okay, by the way, we're not doing this at all. You know, and like, I think that a lot of those conversations, we could do more to kind of promote those conversations because it feels really awkward, I think, for folks to have safe sex conversations. So I am of the opinion, especially because trans people have different interests and different needs, right? Like if you try to have sex with a trans woman who has not had bottom surgery, she might be like, don't touch my genitals at all. We're doing butt stuff only tonight. So yeah, when I think of stealth, I guess I think more of like people who've already had surgery. And so those kind of conversations are maybe a little bit less fraught. Like there's less opportunity for things to go wrong in that situation.
And see, in my opinion, because again, I feel like it's not really the best phrasing, but I didn't know a better way to put it. You know, if you've already had bottom surgery, not that it's, you know, validates or unvalidates anything, but just the idea of I don't really see a reason why a male partner or female partner should have issue at that point, personally. But that's like I was talking to my wife about, is just, it's concerning to me whenever, you know, the genitalia doesn't match the perception. But that's not necessarily that person's fault. Like you said, the situation has a lot more nuance and complexity. But I was just trying to find a way to, and you've helped me a lot as far as how to articulate and explain that to somebody else who may not understand as well.
And I would also add to that, like, you know, there's a lot of burden on trans people in the dating space when we're having this conversation to disclose. So by this, I mean, like, if you are a person who is very, like, I definitely don't want to interact with a penis ever, and I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying, for example, then why is the burden not on you to state that on the first date? Like, why is the burden, on the trans person? So, you know, if you have a genital aversion where you're like, I refuse to engage with this, then it should be part of your regular kind of dating profile behavior to state that, and in a way that's like, this is my preference. And if your body is like that, that's cool. I'm just not going to be interested. Like, I think that there's an interesting conversation to have about like shifting who is like, why does the trans person need to say that they're trans when the bigot should say that they're a bigot? And, you know, if you don't want to have a relationship with somebody who can't have kids, that's up to you to say that on the first date or whatever. Like, you know, the person who's dealing with infertility, you know, maybe that's not like a central part of what they want to tell you on the first date kind of situation. So yeah, I do think it's like an interesting topic with some complexities and nuance, and that we should all be more comfortable having those conversations openly.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm not gonna lie, I really appreciate and I really think that was a wonderful example because, like you said, just with the idea of using fertility as a topic, because, like you said, that may not be something you talk about the first, second, or third time, but it is something that would typically come up in conversation when you talk about your desires and wants.
Yeah. So, like, if a trans person's had bottom surgery, they don't have their fertility anymore. And so that might be a conversation that should matter if you're going to be in a long-term relationship. But for your hookup, it probably doesn't matter that much.
Yep.
Well, see, to be honest with you, it's one of those things I just didn't even think about it. Just even in the situation of a cis relationship, if I was going to go out and look for a partner to date, and then, if I wanted to have kids or she wanted to have kids, and I've had a vasectomy, that's not going to happen. That's a conversation that has to happen somewhere, I would imagine early on. And I think that's just a really good analogy to compare those two. So I want to give you credit for that because I had never thought of it like that before. That's really clever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally.
And I do just want to mention, sorry, my voice is a little bit rough right now. Just for your edification, dyke and trap, they are both broadly considered slurs outside of a few kind of in-group references. And I know you didn't mean anything by it. Just letting you know.
Well, I appreciate that because that's one of those things that, and I understand I'm in Alabama. So maybe our terminology is back behind, but I grew up with a lady that, I would call, she called herself a dyke to me. And that's whenever I started using that terminology because she was hanging around my family and I was like 8 years old. And I didn't realize what was going on. And to be honest with you, I assumed that she was a man until we had more conversations and stuff like that. And she opened up to me. And so that's kind of one of the things too, is like, whenever I think about something like the old terminology, I can see how it gets outdated and pushed to the side. But I also, I just kind of wonder, whenever we talk to people that don't agree with us, we end up running into a lot of hiccups with terminology and language. And I'm in no way saying that, someone should take getting hit in the head as far as like, someone misgendering or calling you a word you don't want to call, like we talk about being a slur. But I just wonder, at what point do we work with the apple and cut off the bruised parts and the rotten parts and still let it be that apple until we can get a good apple out of it? Does that kind of make sense? Because I've had a lot of people that whenever I've said things like that, referencing just particular words, and then they'll go off saying, well, that's a slur, or, oh, well, this or that. And I'm not trying to diminish what that person's saying, but some people, that's the terminology that they have. And whenever I shut them down saying, well, that's not a word you can use, they immediately get upset and they say, well, you won't even let me speak. And I know, and that's not what's happening, but they immediately shut down because they feel villainized, which, again, I can understand, to some degree, they are the villain. But I worry that one of the problems we have is we have so many villains out there that don't realize that they don't have to be. And I'm trying to find a way to get those people back on the right side.
I think if you're proactive about offering a different term, like, like you wouldn't say the N-word, you would say like a black person. And so a gentle course correction. So if for you, I would be like, by the way, dyke is what lesbians call themselves. But if you were describing somebody, then you would probably want to just say butch lesbian, like, or just a butch, to describe like that masculinity being expressed and like that they are lesbians. And then like trap is considered to be inappropriate because it's like it portrays trans women and people like that as being inherently deceptive. And so it's just like, and it's also a highly sexualized term as well. It would be like calling them a she-male, right? Like that's a porn category. That's not a person. So yeah, those just like, I would just be like, just to let you know, and you're not like trying to, stifle their free speech or whatever, and just like offering the gentle correction and like by the way, this other word might be a little bit of a better word. And for you, as somebody in Alabama and like outside of the communities, you don't necessarily have all that terminology. So I'm not expecting you to be fully equipped that way. But those are just like a couple gifts that I would give you in terms of like how to update that terminology.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And I'll take that to heart and I'll do my best to try and do that moving forward. My only other question, just
go ahead.
Go for it.
I'm sorry, you saying something?
I was just going to say, honestly, just doing your best is mostly what people are asking. And, you don't got to be perfect.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I was kind of curious on the other side of that, because I have friends that are, you know, part of the community and things like that, and I hang around them. A lot of the times, you know, I'm just a cis white guy. I have no problem with that. A lot of the jokes are about cis white guys. Most of the time, I'm laughing too. I think it's funny. But I've noticed that some of the people within the group are starting to feel uncomfortable, and they're coming to me and saying, you know, well, we're not talking about you, or, you know, that joke wasn't about you. And I appreciate that they're trying to validate me, saying, you know, I'm not whatever it is they're making the joke about. But I was kind of curious to what you would think about, you know, if there was a cis man in that situation, how to make those people feel more comfortable, because I don't know if it's conversations they've had amongst themselves to where they feel like they're attacking me, because they shouldn't. I've told them all that before, but I've noticed that, you know, they seem less likely to make those jokes in my presence. And it's okay if they don't want to do that because they're doing it for the sake of not trying to make me uncomfortable, but it seems just kind of like an awkward spot between allies and members of the community.
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand people feeling sensitive about jokes being made at their expense, right? And it doesn't even have necessarily to do with like your identity. Although like the reason why that's more sensitive is because you don't have any control. You don't have any control over whether you're cis or whether you're heterosexual or whatever. So, you know, jokes being made at that particular expense, especially if the whole punchline is, haha, you're straight. But like if I were to make a joke evoking the idea that straight men really don't like their wives, which is like a classic stand-up thing. And so if I were to make a joke at their expense and be like, oh, well, you know, I don't know, I'm not like a comedian. I'm not going to try to come up with something on the spot right now. But like a joke at the expense of like men who hate their wives, then like I'm playing on a specific trope, and the idea is not necessarily that they are straight, but rather that they have this issue where they get married to people they don't even like. So there is a way to do jokes cleverly, and there's a way to do jokes that like my experience with this is like when people make jokes about trans people, the whole joke is that they're trans. Like there's like a Dave Chappelle joke where he's talking about a drunk trans woman who falls on the floor and like you can see her balls out of her skirt. And so the whole joke is, haha, woman has balls. So the whole punchline of the joke is that a woman is trans, or like that a woman has genitals that you don't expect, rather than like you can make clever jokes about trans women that don't ultimately just come down to like, haha, the existence of their bodies is humorous because it's jarring or unexpected or whatever. So I do think the ways that you approach humor, or the ways that humor is approached, are different in that way also. Like I don't know very many jokes where it's just like, haha, you're straight, and like that's the sum total of the joke, if that makes any sense. But you know, sometimes jokes are going to land wrong regardless of your intention as well, or regardless of how cleverly they're constructed. As an example that comes to my mind, the idea of you know, man versus bear, like women, a woman's going down a trail. Do they want to encounter a man or a bear? And very clearly that is talking about kind of the general concept of men. It's not talking about specific men. And the men who tend to feel really called out by that joke are, you know, they are men who make women feel uncomfortable. But
they're the men that should have been traded for the bear.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of like, I think, a similar dynamic that might be happening where, like, you know, the jokes that friend group is making are not directed at you because they're directed in a, you know, towards a group you might be a part of, but not at you. Does that make sense? In a similar way to the man versus bear.
Absolutely. I can understand that. That's one of the things, you know, cool thing about comedy is you can punch up. And like I said, you know, I'm a cis white guy. You know, if anyone deserves some punching, it's people like me, and that's fine. But I'm trying to find a way to make them feel more comfortable, I guess, to make fun of me, because I've expressed to them that it's okay. And I see them poke and jab at each other and laugh and have fun. And I'm not necessarily talking at it as far as like, I feel left out. I want to be a part of that. So I want to be able to make jokes and then make jokes of me. But the last thing I want to do is be in their presence and make them feel uncomfortable enough that they can't say something that would make them and their friends, and like I said, more than likely me, laugh as well.
Make jokes at your own expense I would be like, I'm breaking the ice. I'm making fun of myself.
Okay. Well, see, that's kind of what I was wondering, because it's one of those things where I didn't want to seem self-deprecating, but at the same time, that's kind of what I thought too. I was like, I need to start researching some good jokes to tell about myself to maybe help buffer it down.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach to kind of bring things to that level and to know, like, to really display, like, I'm okay with being made fun of. I'm even willing to make fun of myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a big difference between... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say there's a big difference between, like, being self-deprecating in, like, a weird way where you're like, oh, I'm such an idiot. Oh, like,
I'm the worst.
Versus, like, doing a smarter self-deprecating joke about, like, the wider group you're a part of. Yeah, a lot of trans girls do that.
Okay, I guess the only other thing I was kind of curious about was, as far as the general trans community, I'm not as versed as far as, like, the, I'm not trying to make fun, I don't know, but however many different genders there are, you know, because I know there's a bunch of different ones. And again, it's one of those things where I feel like people are losing the idea in the sauce, you know, like, if I'm not mistaken, like, the idea of being like an astral gender would be like your attachment to the cosmos. But to me, that doesn't seem like gender as much as it would something like spirituality. And so I was just kind of curious, as far as, like, different genders go, are those also under the umbrella of the community, or is that something that just the internet has been talking about and it kind of looks like it's a part of it?
For context, I'm non-binary, and I think that a lot of those terms exist as a way for people who are non-binary to try to describe what they're experiencing with a, like, related, not related perhaps, but, like, a concept that evokes how they're feeling, right? Like, in this way where, like, historically we had heraldry. So, like, you know, this family has the symbol of a lion. And so there's like an ego that gets built around that family, and they are called by those terms or whatever. And like, oh, so you're prideful, you know, his pride has pride. Those kind of, like, terms get used. And so I think basically, because gender is so flexible, that, like, what does it even mean to be a woman if you could have long hair or short hair, or you could have painted fingernails, or you could have dirt under your nails because you work on cars all day.
Absolutely.
Like, so because the concept of man and woman are so flexible, I honestly kind of sometimes think that these very specific gender terms, like tree gender, is like, that is almost more coherent in a way, because it's evoking something very specific. So, like, trees, you know, they are steadfast, they grow slowly. It's part of nature, they're grounded. So, like, there's all of this sort of associated concepts in a way that, like, honestly, it sometimes feels like it's more solid than saying I'm a woman, because what does I'm a woman mean? Like, again, you could be any type of woman, and it's only telling you, like, a slim amount of information. So basically, the way that I've come to view those types of hyper specific and seemingly abstract gender descriptions is just, like, folks trying to make sense of how far their alienation is from the idea of being a man or a woman.
Absolutely, I can understand that, and that makes a lot more sense than the way I've heard it described before. That's kind of why I use the astral as an, you know, that kind of a point, because in my opinion, you know, we're all stardust. We all came from the stars. We'll go back to the stars one day. So, in my opinion, personally, you know, I identify with that a lot. Now, I don't know if I would go as far as to call myself astral gender, but like you said, I can identify, I can validate, and I can see that within my mind and how that makes sense and to who I am. And so that's one of the reasons I was asking, because to me, that's the hitting the nail on the head. That's what we're trying to do for everybody. It's trying to get everyone to learn who they are, come to terms with who they are, accept who they are, and then put themselves out into the world to be seen and be beautiful. But it just seems like a lot of times we're getting lost on the way there. And I'm trying to find a way to help people basically understand what you just explained to me.
Yeah, to kind of expand on what Lux was talking about with, like, heraldry, a good example of this would be, like, Richard the Lionhearted. You know, we all know who King Richard the Lionhearted is, you know, from, like, Robin Hood, etc. But an actual historical figure referred to as Lionhearted. And, like, that was an identifier for this specific man. And in a similar way, like, you're not saying he's an actual lion. You're not saying he's got the heart of a lion. You're attributing a set of characteristics to him, and he's identified with that in a similar sense to, like, astral gender or tree gender. This is something that we actually do far more commonly, I think, than a lot of people tend to realize. It's just that now we have people who are explicitly connecting their gender identity to that same thing we've always been doing.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time. And I'm about to have to go, but I think it was a really constructive conversation. And thank you again for your time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thanks for calling. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you again later.
See ya. Bye.
Well, that was nice and chill. That was a good convo.
Lovely.
Yeah, I'm such a fan of those, like, I'm a cis guy and I don't know what the fuck's going on. And when you tell me information, I'm just going to kind of go, okay. Like, those are the best.
Well, and like it was very clear that he'd been thinking about this for a while and had like concrete questions.
Yeah.
And wanted answers to them. Unlike Bad, who called in and had like a bajillion questions, but did not want answers to any of them.
No. Yeah, was not interested really in hearing anything that we had to say, frankly. Yeah, there's a reason why Bad gets like a 10 minutes. And then, like, Jovan literally puts up a timer. When he's on his stream, he puts the timer on screen as like a 10-minute countdown thing. For Bad to, give him a little bit of rope to hang himself with. But yeah, that was good stuff. Lines are closed now. We have 3 more callers on the line. We're going to try to get through them in the next 30 to 40 minutes before we get into our super chats. But don't forget, it's not too late in the show for you to hit the like button. Actually, right now, what I'm going to do is tell you about the schedule for the upcoming week, because we've got all kinds of wonderful shows. We're actually going to be off the next 2 days. I don't think we have any weekend shows or any Friday shows. Well, Friday or Saturday is what I think of as the weekend. So we don't have any Friday or Saturday shows this week, but let me pull this schedule up and let you know what we have going on at the beginning of next week, at least. I am going to be gone next week, so you will not be seeing any of me. Here we go. Okay. So on Sunday, we've got shows across both channels. We start out with the Sunday show. This week, Matt is not going to be there. We have Seth Andrews and Promise, who are going to be on the Sunday show at 1 p.m. Central Time. Let me change this to Central Time so I'm not having to convert that in my brain. Followed immediately by the Calling It Now, which is going to be on the Jimmy Snow channel at 4 p.m. Central Time. And then immediately that's going to segue into the Sunday After Dark show with Forrest Valkai and Aaron Adair this weekend. Monday, we have got, again, lots of programming, starting with Calling It Now at 2 p.m. with Promise and Jimmy. The Line has a podcast recording with Alyssa and Jimmy. That's not a call-in show. They just kind of talk about the news and current events and give their opinions on those kind of things, but you can still tune in and participate in the chat. And that is going to segue into Skeptalk, which this coming Monday is going to be Forrest and John Gleason, Godless Engineer. Chewed Gum, of course, on Tuesday with Taylor and Alyssa. Taylor's back after her surgery, so I'm very excited for her. And that's going to be immediately segued into Calling It Now with Jimmy and Ari. And then very exciting episode on Wednesdays, The Hang Up next week with Matt Dillahunty and Justin Deconstruction Zone. So tune in for all those wonderful shows. Make sure on both channels that you check your notification settings with the little, when you ring the bell on the subscriber button, make sure you have it selected, to whatever notification settings you want so that you get told when we go live. And yeah, that's lots of stuff. Oh, also, we don't have it scheduled right this second, I don't think, but coming up in May, we are going to have another LineCon where 3 of our hosts give a 20-minute lecture followed by 1 hour of Q&A for all 3 hosts. You can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/calltheline to basically get a ticket to that event. If you subscribe at $15 a month, that gets you a ticket to every monthly event. And if you join us at $5 a month, that will get you access to the video on demand. And that also gives you access to all the previous times that we've had LineCon. We just had 2 LineCons in April to make up for missing it in March. So if you want to catch talks from Seth Andrews, Alyssa, and Dr. Ben, and Eric from Skeptics and Scoundrels, all of those talks just happened, and you can access them on our Patreon for the $5 tier. And that's a great way to support the line and make sure that we can expand and grow and do more things, like maybe someday doing LineCon in person, which would be a much more interesting event. So Subscribe on Patreon if you want to see those things happen eventually in the future. With all that said, we do still have a couple callers left, so we'll get to those. Don't forget to get your $5 or more super chats in. We will read those at the end with your votes. Do we have the poll in the chat? We do. So the poll in the chat, which whoever loses the super chat game, so hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Jack, whoever loses gets the fewest votes on that, has to defend a funny position, and you can vote on what that is going to be. Your options today are cowboy aesthetic is just masculine drag, hippie Jesus was bisexual, or glitter is mined from trans joy. I know which one I'm voting for. Make sure you get your votes in, both in the poll and in the super chats. So with all that said, I think we can move on to the rest of the show, which is going to be basically advice calls, I think. Actually, 35.3 looks like it might be more of an educational call than an advice call. So we're going to go ahead and take Trippy, he, him pronouns from Tennessee. You are live on the line with Luxander and Riverboat Jack. How you doing? Trippy, are you there?
Hello?
Perhaps they stepped away for a moment. We cannot hear you right now, Trippy, if you are there.
Oh, no.
No.
Maybe just drop him back in the queue and try again in a little bit.
Yeah. Return to queue. We'll see you in a minute. Perhaps we'll try again after we take another caller. So let's take the person who's been waiting the longest. We're going to talk to Panda, she, her pronouns from Texas. Panda, you are live on the line with Luxander and Riverboat Jack. How you doing?
I'm great. How are y'all?
Doing good. Doing good.
Scratchy voice.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're making it through. You wanted to call about helping your trans girlfriend. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay, so sorry. If I'm ever talking over you, it's not on purpose. But your topic today is advice for your trans girlfriend. So lay it on us. What do you want to talk about?
Okay, so I've actually called in before. I've actually spoken with Jack before. So my girlfriend and I have been together for 9 years. Actually just celebrated our 9th anniversary on the 20th. Yay.
Congrats.
But the thing that I was trying to maybe get some advice or help on is she is closeted, and she is only comfortable being herself around specific people, which is completely understandable. However, the thing that I have noticed here lately, actually every year that we've spent together, I see it as the time gets closer to her birthday, she starts to get kind of down on herself. And the thing that she has the hardest time with is her self-confidence, I think, in having not transitioned yet, and she's getting older. And I don't know how I can possibly not baby her, but not pacify her either, because it's something that I want to stick in her head. That it's, I understand where she's coming from when she says that it's too late, but I guess because I've never experienced what it is to be trans, I will never experience what it is to be trans. So I have to try to think in a broader spectrum. That way I can, I guess, be more self-aware in how she feels about it. But is there anything that either one of you could advise me on maybe trying to get her to not feel so down on herself, and that she always throws out, "Oh, I'm just cross-dressing, blah, blah, blah." It's like, no, stop. Are you happy with how you are with me? Yes. Okay. Then you're not cross-dressing. That's who you are. You just you don't feel like you have a safe space other than home to be yourself. And I don't know how to get it through her sick head, basically.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask, like, kind of general age range?
She'll be 38. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you, every trans woman I have ever met, all of them feel like they transitioned too late. All of them. It doesn't matter if they transitioned as teenagers or in their 60s. Like, every trans woman I've ever met is out there being like, I should have done it sooner. Should have done it sooner. And I guess the message that I have is that, like, it's never too late. Every trans person that I know who has taken the leap, who has walked into a clinic and gotten, their HRT prescription, they're out there and they do not regret transitioning. They all just wish that they had been able to do it sooner. And so, like, I know for myself, I wish that. And I, started HRT when I was 28, and I always think, oh, what could have been? What could have been? But, like, I'm happy that I transitioned. I'm not regretting that one little bit. And, like, it is very scary doing your first appointment to get HRT, because there is, like, kind of this acknowledgement that, like, it's a big deal, like, you're kind of going,
absolutely life changing.
Yeah, you're doing something for yourself that is revolutionary. And I think it can be really easy to get hung up on how scary that is, because it also requires you to kind of embrace a radical self-love. And that can be a big hurdle for some trans folks, because a lot of us, throughout our lives, we get just inundated with messaging that we should hate who we are, we should not embrace who we are, etc. And that can pose, like, a really real barrier, even if, like, the healthcare barrier isn't there. And I don't know what your situation is exactly. I know Texas, but I do know Planned Parenthood in Texas. Planned Parenthood in Texas has like, walk-in clinics where you can get prescribed HRT on an informed consent model.
Whoa. I had no idea about that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off. That's crazy. I had no idea about that.
Yeah. So if the worry is, like, access to care might not be there, or if it is, like, a self-confidence thing, I guess it kind of depends on where your partner is getting tripped up, like, and what they want, right? I know for me, what was really helpful in figuring myself out is I went to go see a therapist specifically who specialized in, like, gender issues, so I could talk about these feelings openly and freely and not feel judged about them. And that helped me kind of arrive at that decision that I did want to go into that informed consent clinic and start HRT, because I'd been sitting there agonizing about this for years. And so, I obviously can't speak for your partner or what they want, what she wants, but, like, maybe like, what is your sense, I guess?
As far as, like, why it hasn't happened yet, or?
Yeah, like, is there fear about, like, work or family, or, I guess I'm trying to get a sense of, like, where the support is needed.
Ultimately, it's the access and the financial aspect of the care, because it is not cheap, and I think that right there, if access to the care was more readily available to her, I think that I would have seen a completely different person 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. Still herself, but just a different, happier version of herself.
I think it's more and more accessible as time goes on. I mean, obviously you live in Texas, so Planned Parenthood is, like, being defunded and legislated out of existence and everything. But Planned Parenthood, and other sliding scale clinics as well, can address this. And then like as far as like starting on the pills, estrogen is not super expensive. Like it's functionally the same as birth control, where it's like $10 a month for a prescription. Especially if you use like a good RX. Yeah. It's way cheaper than you think it will be. I mean, obviously, trans women also sometimes get like a testosterone blocker such as spironolactone. And then there are like online ways to get it. Folks, Folx, is an online prescriber, or actually GoodRx. I was able to get last year before I had insurance. I was able to get an antibiotic off of like a GoodRx, which normally I would just use their like coupons. You know, they have a little coupon code. If you don't have insurance, you can take that to the pharmacy. But also you can go online and speak to a nurse practitioner, which really is, that's like all you need to, as far as getting hormones in an informed consent model, is a nurse practitioner, just an NP. So yeah, I just kind of Googled HRT online. There's also one called Winona, like Winona Ryder, the actress, like Winona is the name of the service, where you can get access to that care online. So like looking up HRT online, which is hormone replacement therapy, I've been able to find several different online, if access in person is difficult. But yeah, any sliding scale clinic that does any form of sexual health will be able to provide this care at a reduced cost as well.
Okay. I think another reason maybe why she's not, because I know she's looked into it a lot. I don't exactly know the information that she has found herself. I have tried to look, but I don't know exactly where to look. But you both have actually given me a lot of information. But I know one thing that she is kind of nervous about is getting on HRT and like libido plummeting. And that would not, days at my house would not be happy for anyone.
From what I hear,
if that happens.
It changes, but doesn't go away. There is an initial kind of like adjustment period. But it's like, you know, in the way that like, if you think of like men and like I'm married to a man and he doesn't really need a lot of like lead up. And it's like, I don't really need to like touch him anywhere else except for the hot zone. But like for women, you know, women often need like a little bit more easing into it, and the skin is more sensitive in other places besides the genitals. So those kind of things will probably change. And if she's experiencing like a serious like libido has dropped out, you can also supplement with progesterone, and that often helps resolve that problem.
Yeah, I can I can tell you from experience, libido doesn't go away, but it does change. Like what is sensitive changes, what might be pleasurable changes, and also like progesterone does tend to up that sex drive if it has kind of gone down. So just from experience, I can tell you, for me, that was the case. But mileage may vary depending on other people. It's kind of a, you kind of have to feel it out for yourself once you start.
That's actually like very encouraging, even more so, because not to be like descriptive, but we are very, very far from vanilla. So like a lot of the exploring and stuff already happens anyway. So like I think that would be something good that she should maybe hold on to. She doesn't even know I'm calling. Like I hear her hearing this right now. Like, I'm surprised my phone hasn't been blowing up. Like, what are you doing? That's why
I mean, these are legit concerns.
My alias.
We are adults. We have sex. It's a legitimate concern. You're changing the sexual parts of your body. And so it makes sense for that to be like, especially if you're like, this could interrupt our intimacy. Like, yeah, that I completely understand that being a concern. So I'm happy to give you the info to assuage that concern.
And I would say it's a really good sign that you guys have good communication, because that's all, and also that you like to experiment, because both of those things are going to really help.
Absolutely.
In any kind of adjustment if it's necessary.
I think that's part of what has made our relationship as strong as it is. We went into the relationship completely and 100% open with each other. I knew she was trans the day I met her, and there's never a dull moment in my house at all. So it's been really fun, and I do want to say before I get off here and quit bugging y'all, I am absolutely appalled by some of the crap that I have heard today on these calls. I'm so sorry that people feel they have the right to talk to anybody the way that they have to you to.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm used to it. I'm
fuming,
putting myself out there in that way. So it's like it's to be expected to some extent, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah, it kind of comes with the territory when you are putting yourself out.
I was literally walking through my house. I had like trash bags in my hand, and I stopped like dead, like mid-step, and I drop everything. I'm like, oh my God, no, they did not just say that. I was fuming.
The audacity. Yeah, for sure. Well, Panda, if we have addressed some of your questions, feel free, you're welcome to call back in the future if you have other concerns. Also, like, I would recommend, if you aren't already in like online communities where you can access like other people's experiences on this kind of stuff. Like I have a Discord server that's available through, like, if you go to my website, luxander.net, there are lots of trans people in there that you or your wife could ask questions about, like starting that HRT journey and how they're navigating it with the increased like difficulties in that system. So yeah, definitely like finding community and those kind of resources is going to be super important for both of you.
Perfect. I do appreciate y'all's time. I know it is very, very important. And I thank you both for being part of a community like this, to be able to talk to people and spread the awareness of the misconceptions and the facts about trans people in the community and relationships.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Panda. We appreciate you, and good luck out there.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm going to try one more time with Trippy. We might only have time really to get like deep into one of these calls, so I'm just going to confirm if Trippy is there or not, and I'm maybe like assuming that he won't be there, so then we'll just take our last caller before we move into our super chats. Trippy, he, him pronouns from Tennessee. You're live with Luxander and Riverboat Jack. Are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm so sorry. My fiance called me.
Oh, it's okay. No worries. So yeah, your topic is about agender identities, and you have a couple questions. So lay it on us. What do you have?
Yeah. So like, first of all, like, I'm an ally, like, through and through. I've been listening to y'all for a good amount of time now. And so I've heard some conversation about agender identities. It just kind of gets typically overshadowed by like binary, like the binary trans experience. So like I've always had certain feelings, like certain identity things about myself, like my given name and certain things about like masculine presenting, kind of like rubs me a little bit harsh, but I could just be like this and overthinking myself, being neurodivergent. But like, I'm just curious, how does one gain an understanding of gender expression, if that makes sense?
I mean, sorry, I'm in the middle of eating pizza. I am non-binary, and I would describe myself as agender. And the problem with gender expression for a non-binary person is that like there's like no such thing as zero gender in your expression. So like, it's like short fingernails are masculine, long fingernails are feminine. So do you take some pliers and remove your fingernails if you want to have zero gender expression? Like, functionally, if you are trying to convey or communicate that you are non-binary, the main option that you have is to mix and match. So like, oh, you've got the beard and then you've got the fingernails and you have the skirt and the muscles, and like it's about like mishmashing things together. My personal thing at this point is like, I'm not trying to look non-binary. I know that I look I'm comfortable being femme. I like being femme. And I know that people are going to perceive me as a woman, and I just don't care about that anymore. But also, I came out like 17 years ago. So that kind of comes with time as well. So I'm just a big proponent of like experimenting with whatever makes you happy. And like, I also have agender friends who like haven't done any medical transition, and they present as their assigned sex at birth, and they just don't care. And so, yeah, it's like different levels of how engaged do you want to be? How much work do you want to put into it? How much fun are you having with it? In like that trade-off of like, does this feel like work? And does it feel like I'm trying really hard to communicate something? Or am I just like trying to find what's comfy and fun?
Right. So like, to give a little background on myself, I've always been very much of just a free-spirited person, kind of like through my early 20s, I was very like hippie-ish, and now I've just kind of adapted to my surroundings, and I'm growing to be like more of a country person with like how I'm presenting myself. And there have been things that I've tried, like using certain like colored contacts and getting facial piercings that have like, that's given me, a sense of euphoria about, my looks. I just don't know if that has anything to do with gender, because like I've been fortunate enough to at least not have like, like full blown, gender dysphoria, because like I've heard how terrible that can be, but like there's parts that make me question whether I am actually cis or if I may be some non-binary.
I mean, cis people don't usually think about it that much, so you've got that going for you at least.
You know what? So, that's entirely fair.
Yep,
I do agree. I actually do personally think that alternative style is a type of gender expression, and like a type of non-binary gender expression. Like I think that like when I am thinking of like its pronouns, for example, I am thinking of like somebody who is goth or who is altering their body in ways that are like bordering on transhuman, like somebody with a split tongue, and somebody with facial piercings. Like I definitely think that is one way to approach gender expression. And like you mentioned, like changing like colored contacts. Like I do think that is one of the ways in which we kind of test our boundaries. And I do think that non-binary people, sometimes we have this thing, and I think you mentioned like being autistic as well, where it's like
I'm ADHD, but I mean,
sure,
never been diagnosed autistic, whatever. Yeah.
Same boat here. Yeah. Diagnosed ADHD, cool. Not diagnosed autistic, but many overlapping things with autistic people. So yeah. So I do think that there is a little bit with neurodivergent people that like, I don't really connect with a lot of other normatively human things. So when you change your body in ways that feels like it's transgressing humanity, or if it puts you in a category of like, that's a freaky person, I don't know what that person is, I do think that resonates with non-binary people in those kind of ways. So I would affirm that that's related.
Definitely something that's resonated with me. Like specifically, like I know some people, they'll use colored contacts to give themselves pretty blue eyes or to make their brown eyes look a little more hazel or whatever. But I've always gone for like more non-traditional stuff. Like my favorites are my pinwheel ones. They kind of look like a hypnosis spiral, and like using
cool
those and getting facial piercings and strange haircuts. That's made me feel euphoric. And like, there's a part of me that's like becoming more comfortable with just being straight up a dude. Like, I've got a big bushy communist mustache and, you know, a mullet and like kind of country, kind of pretty straight up like country dude, you know, as you would see them often where I'm from, you know, but also there's just certain things like my facial piercings and all that stuff that stuff definitely makes me more comfortable. I don't know how else to explain it.
Well, and also I just want to throw out there, like, if you are not feeling an affinity with any kind of gender or don't have gender feelings, really, like, that is part of being agender. Like, just if you kind of have like a just nebulous gender feeling or lack thereof, like that is agender. Like that nebulousness, that, yeah. And, you know, you don't have to like ascribe to that fully yourself, but like if you are, like, it's your identity, right? Like if you are identifying more with being a man, or you're identifying more as kind of like just a nebulous sort of they them situation, like, that's entirely up to you. Like, maybe you're fluid in that sense. You know, it's complicated and it's wonderful and it's fun and you can play around with it.
Right. Yeah. I've been watching some YouTube videos. Just, like I said, I heard a call. I don't know if you heard in the call screen, but the thing that inspired me to like ask about agender identities was there was like a really, he was just really bad faith caller from like maybe a month ago. And y'all had a conversation very similar. Like I remember you explaining like the fingernails things and stuff like that. And that kind of had me calling because like I felt like it may have been describing something that I've not had words for necessarily. So I'll definitely keep looking into things and trying things out. Kind of not a great time for me to really experiment with, you know, how I'm looking. I'm trying to look halfway decent for my wedding. And, you know, I know like, you know, I could try something that definitely doesn't work for me or whatever. But I'm at least going to keep looking into this for the time being. Thank you very much for
I have to say,
your experience.
You're going to be looking at those wedding photos for the rest of your life. So you better like how you look in them. You know, you do not want to be looking back on your wedding photos going, uh-oh, that's not me. That doesn't feel like legitimate to me. And I also just want to point out that one of our like silly positions that we're going to potentially have to defend today in our end segment is cowboy aesthetic is masculine drag. So you can camp up cowboy look and make it feel like drag. So I'm just saying, you know, just because like if you were assigned male at birth and you're doing cowboy stuff, that doesn't mean that it's not drag and that you can't. Like I know a creator who like has a mustache and does the cowboy look with glam makeup, just with everything's cowboy and then it's like boom on the eyeshadow. So, you know, don't be afraid to explore. And like I said, you want those wedding photos to feel like a good thing to reflect on later.
Like the Lil Nas X cowboy look is excellent.
All right. Thank you very much for your time and sharing with me. I'll definitely take what you've said into consideration. Y'all have an amazing rest of your day, and I'm going to keep watching and keep learning from y'all. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Trippy. We appreciate you. Bye-bye. Okay, that's the end of the calls portion of the show. Next is the super chats and the voting portion of the show. So don't forget to get your votes in. $5 or more, we read those super chats, and you can use hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Jack. Whoever loses that competition has to promote the silly position. On one chat, it's cowboy aesthetic is masculine drag. What's the poll on the other chat? Okay, so it's going to be cowboy aesthetic is masculine drag. It kind of looks like, unless you want to throw in an upset, guys. So get those votes in the poll. Yeah. Oh, no, by the way, somebody said that my Discord link was not working on my website, so I put a new one on there. Hopefully that is working now. So if you do want to join my Discord, go to luxander.net, and that's like on the top of the page, it's Discord. One of the options is up there. So Jack, would you start off the super chats, please?
Absolutely. $5 from Joshua Everett. Hello, all. I agree that if we're going to have a draft, it should be universal and truly inclusive of the rich.
Yeah.
Team RBJ, Lux knows what it did. What did you do?
I don't know. I do so many things. I'm a little scamp. I get in trouble. I don't know what the fuck I did. You shouldn't be able to claim to have gouty toes and get, what was it? Was that what Trump did? He was like, I have gout, and so I can't.
Or like shin splints or something.
Yeah, something stupid like that. Anyway. Thank you for $4.99 from Safko, who says, bro, if you don't like what you're reading, read something else or close your eyes. LMAO, truly. Like, why are you complaining to me about it? Like, I'm not an author. I don't write fantasy, fan fiction.
I just couldn't get over it. That was a call in about the same topic that baffled me like a month ago.
Really? Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a two-parter. I'm still confused.
I just need chat to know that I said I would take a bullet for whoever told him to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's true. The Discord at the top of the website.
$5 from Joshua Everett. Hey, let's all go dance at Crotch Grabbers tonight. It's half off drinks night. Team RBJ.
That's crazy. Thank you for $10 from Arcane Goat. That's a good puppy and not a goat in your profile picture. Is the topic of today's show. I have an issue with this specific book because that's odd, but I do have a lot of harsh words to share about Heart of Darkness.
Thank you for the $5 from Catalina Gearbox. If kids are not mature enough to learn about trans people, then they're definitely not mature enough to learn about the Bible. True.
Fucking true. $5 from Mira Featherbender says, B, here's a thought. If you don't like what's in a book, don't read the fucking book. Mind your own business. # Team Jack.
I'm going to be thinking about that call for such a long time.
I am not going to. I forget these people like immediately after the show. I'm like, I don't need to think about you anymore. They have to be a repeat caller. Actually, I remember more the callers who I can't talk to because I'm producing like on some of our other shows. And so I have to like sit there and not interrupt and not say anything. So I do remember those callers more. And even then I still forget them. I totally forgot. We had this caller who actually got banned this week. And we had created a wonderful meme off of it, and I still forgot afterwards who he was. And he called back, and I was like, "Wait, I thought that was a different." Oh no, wait, no, okay, finally, yeah, I remember this guy now that I can hear him talking. But yeah, he actually said that he was a new prophet, and he seemed to really believe it. So we banned him because he was having a psychological breakdown of some kind.
Oh no, a prophet of like what religion? Who knows? That's the fun part.
Okay. Yeah, he was like, you can't, if you eat cheese or you eat cow or you eat chicken, then you will die because you're bringing violence into your life. It's Carlos, yeah.
Carlos! He's my favorite lol cow of the show. He's so funny. I was very serious and it's sad.
Yeah, no, he fully was like, we were like, how do you know this? Because he kept saying like, he was like offended at the idea that we were conflating his beliefs with Christian beliefs or that we would bring up the Bible. And then we finally got to like, how do you know any of these things? How do you know that eating chickens is bad and you're only allowed to eat fish? The crazy thing is that we were like, what about veganism? Like, is veganism good? And he was like, no! And it's like, it was crazy. But the fact that he seems to genuinely believe, he was like, on September 20th, 2022, I learned that I am the prophet. I am the new prophet. And he seemed totally serious. And so we banned him.
Yeah.
Because I'm not trying to contribute to somebody having a full-blown meltdown. $5. Oh, wait, we didn't read Melatonin Ale.
Oh.
How dare you? Thank you for $5 for Melatonin Ale, who says, just look at Colleen Hoover's BS books. They are all trash. # Team RBJ. It's a blowout today. I have no chance right now.
Thank you for the $5 from Aliashana Silverbow. Nobody tell John who created algebra and the Arabic numerals we use today. I'll give you a hint. They weren't white men. Also, who saved all of the books from the fucking Greeks? Give you a hint. It wasn't same folks who gave you Arabic numerals.
Mm-hmm. That would be historical facts, though. You know they don't give a shit about that.
No, they don't. It's just all racism.
Yeah. $5 from Robin, who says, shout out to my LGBTQ friends. Hearts, hashtag Team Lux. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the $4.99 from Snardfluck. Louise,
Good.
My lifestyle, my agenda. I wake up, I eat breakfast, I go to work, or I used to. I watch TV. Maybe I buy groceries, maybe walk, go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like John or whoever talking about like our lifestyle and the choices that we're making. Like, we could have had an interesting conversation there. He was like, oh, you call yourselves women, but it's only linguistically. And it's like, okay, this is a good time to educate you about like actually how you transition sexes when you undergo hormone therapy. But no, we were never going to have that conversation with him because he was a deeply crazy person.
He was dedicated to off-railing everything. Because like, I would have loved to have an in-depth conversation about how bullshit any one of the fields of science he was trying to bring up were.
Yeah.
But he couldn't stick to one of them.
Also, the amount of people thinking that Lux is a trans woman today was off the charts. Absolutely
Crazy.
Insane. I'm like, oh my God. For all the people who were saying we're obviously men and pretending to be women, I'm like, bro, you're
that
so
happens
dumb.
a lot. It actually happens a lot on the Calling It Now, like when we're talking to a broader audience. So yeah, it's pretty much all the time. And then recently I went and like I put up my hair in a bun and I wore like my binder and like a looser shirt and everything. And there weren't people who were being crazy the other direction, which was odd. I thought that was strange. It's really only when I'm dressed femme that people are really concerned about my genitals, it seems. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what this means, but thank you for 50 MX. I don't know what MX is, but that's a lot of them, it seems like. Thank you so much to VLK Fritz, who says people like Bad are the reason why this needs to be taught to kids in school to stop people from becoming deranged, dangerous, hate-mongering dunces. So true. Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. That guy was just like, I'm going to beat you all up. Like, my God. Fucking
You're
keyboard warrior over here.
You're transposing guilt from a lot of other conversations that you've had. Like if you're mad at Jovan for like interrupting, and listen, I do think, and this is not a criticism, but if you just compare my style to Jovan's style, Jovan is often more spicy. He's stronger with the mute button. He's stronger with the interrupting. He just like laughs at you and shit. I get it, but you cannot transfer that onto me and say you want to beat me up because of how somebody else has talked to you. I don't share responsibility with every other host on this show and every other satellite show. So yeah, that was a little bit cray-cray.
Thank you for the $20 from Legally Mod. I was diagnosed with autoimmune alopecia yesterday. Over half of my hair has come out in the last 2 months. It's manageable with steroids, but it will grow back. It will just take a lot longer before I grow mermaid hair. Oh, sorry to hear that. That sounds really irritating.
Are you allowed to use minoxidil with that? Because that might just kind of help stimulate it a little bit faster. I'm going to try starting minoxidil because I don't know why, but my hairline is really wonky on this side. So I keep meaning to, and I just had to spend $5,000 on taxes just now. Ooh. So yeah, most of that had to go on credit. And then I also had to get a bunch of shit in my car fixed. So, I'm going to be recovering from that for a few months before I can spend $20 on minoxidil and not feel bad about it.
Life of a content creator.
Fucking true. I hope that I'm going to make enough money this year that I can actually save up and make quarterly payments. Instead of just being blindsided, because I'm going to make way more money this year than I made last year, and I'm certain that I'm going to owe even more money. So, yay! Self-employed. Thank you for $10 from Salk, who says, hello, y'all. Just wanted to say I'm a 52-year-old cis man and engineer in the Deep South who supports trans rights. Everyone should be an ally. Fuck yes, that's awesome. I also want to be an engineer.
Thank you for the $5 from Joshua Everett. Papier Mache. P3D is my band name. Hashtag Team Lux. Hashtag Team All's Forgiven. So I guess whatever you did.
Whatever I did, I'm in the free and clear now. That's good.
No longer
because I don't know what I did. I know. I like made a joke at Forrest's expense the other night, and afterwards I was like, I legitimately am sorry if that was too much. And so I'm like, uh-oh. I keep doing this where I like make a joke and then I'm apologizing and people are like, you're fine. And I'm like, something is wrong with me that I feel like I can't rib people without it I'm like, oh no, I did too much autism.
You're too nice. You're too nice.
I'm like, please don't be mad at me. $5 from Beaker Squeakers. Thank you. Says, guys like Bad are the reason people feel unsafe around men. And he wonders why people shout him down. I'm shook. I think I need a hashtag Team Mina after that. Ooh, I will supply. I will do.
Thank you for the $5 from Robin Webster, 1968. Shout out to Arden, Lux, and Jack for the offer of the Rails collars. Don't know what that means. Hashtag Team Jack.
Off the rails, maybe?
Oh, off the rail colors. Yes.
I'm glad their insanity was entertaining for you, Chatter. It was suffering, I think, for us on this end, but that's okay.
Yeah, just a bit. Also, for folks who might be looking for me to stream tonight, if I do stream tonight, it's going to be a relatively quiet stream.
I have baby.
Timina.
Yes, she's Angel. She is so good. We keep having carpenter ants that are trying to invade my house right now, like the big ones, like the ones that are like half an inch long. And I keep having to rescue her from them because one of the first ones she found was one of the big ones, and she tried to like eat it and it bit her. And it was like stuck to her mouth and I had to pull it off. I know I saved you from the ant, didn't I? Didn't I, Mina? Yes, I did. But you keep finding them for me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. She's like, I'm done with this. You're good girl. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you for being a good sport. It's also hot as hell in here. So I'm sure she doesn't like to be picked up and held because she's long-furred, and I think she gets really warm really fast. Relatable. Is this for me?
Yep.
Thank you for $5 from Dr. Mitch, who says, well said, Lux. I don't know what I said. I frequently don't remember what I've said immediately after saying it, but thank you very much for the $5.
Thank you for the £5 from Arboresh TV. I totally agree with Philip. Children attend pride marches and they see highly sexualized images and it's not okay. Then don't take your children. One, Philip was talking about fucking Mardi Gras.
Which is different, yeah.
Which is not pride. And number two, don't take your children to the adult pride marches. There are family-friendly pride marches. That's a skill issue, my friend.
Yeah, like that's on you for bringing your kid to that kind of event in the first place. Like, yeah, they're gonna have like dildos on like their foreheads and stuff. Like that's just kind of what happens at a pride parade. So anyway, weird choice also to donate to tell us that, but thank you for supporting the show and supporting our degeneracy. Appreciate that. Thank you for $5 from Pip, who says the biggest problem is that trans identities are seen as a sexual fetish by default, even when completely innocent. Protect trans art. Hashtag Team Void Kitty.
Yep.
Rest in peace, the Void Kitty. Yeah, did you see kind of in the aftermath of that big conversation about like, I'm not going to name any names, but like, if you have your feet out in public and your partner has a foot fetish, then you are exposing people to your kink. In the aftermath of that, I legitimately saw people arguing, I mean, you know, who knows if it's a psyop or whatever, but I saw people arguing that trans people are in fact, to some extent, I think that this was even like somebody who identified as trans who was saying that like, this is a way of like roping people into our sexual lives by just dressing the way that we dress in public. And this is the terminal end point of that logic when conservatives say like, not only is there going to be a ban on drag shows, but you cannot perform while you're, quote, cross-dressing, which means any trans comedians can't perform even if their show is not a drag show. And then like that's expanding out into like you can't wear things in public because you're exposing everybody to your sexual fetish. And like our 99% of our lives we spend not having sex, but we are still living in that gender space. And it's crazy. I don't know. It's just because you can't stop thinking about what's in my pants.
Yeah, it is projection onto trans people. Like, because we don't fit neatly into a box, they're like thinking of all the ways we fit outside the box with our unconventional and unexpected genitalia. And like, that's not our problem that you can't stop thinking about our genitals.
Yeah.
That's a you problem. You are then projecting your own insecurities on that about like how, oh man, if children see trans people, they're also going to be weird about trans people. It's like, no, that's not how that works. Actually. Thank you for the $5 from Squirrel Knitter. It's unfortunate that human touch is so sexualized that we insist it's just a hug. Hashtag Team Jack. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was odd. I thought it was an odd thing to specify, but they're a young person who seems to be socially isolated, so just, whatever. Thank you for $5 from Bramley, who says, thanks for correcting Alex's language, Jack. He was right on the ragged edge of acceptability. Hashtag Team Jack. Yeah, I was like, I found it a little bit funny, but I appreciate that you made the correction because I think I would have forgotten to.
Yeah, Alex, look, Alex, he's got the right heart.
He's got the
right
spirit. Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for $5 from Space Barbarian. Man or man bear pig? Hashtag Team Lux.
The question for the ages. Thank you for another $5 from Bramley, who says, I just had my first FFS consult the other day, and I'm super excited. Hashtag Team Jack, because I already told Lux this on its stream yesterday. Hashtag bad YouTube censoring. Oh yeah, because FFS could mean for fuck's sake. But that's so exciting. Geez, that's a crazy intense surgery. And so my props to you for following through on that. Yeah.
So cool. Thank you for the $10 from Fire in the Forest. Fern?
I think it's Fern?
In the Forest. IDK, be gay, do drag, hail Satan, heart. Hashtag Team Lux.
True. Thanks for £5 from Humanistic Judaism, who says, if an intersex person was brought up non-binary, would they then be cis? I think that technically speaking, but you still wouldn't want to impose a gender identity on a person. Like you would still want to, in my opinion, raise the kid the way that you would raise any other sex born at birth kid, where you're like, typically this is the dynamic, but you can do whatever you want. But yeah, if you were like coercively assigning them as non-binary, then and they did identify as non-binary, then I guess they would be cis. Yeah.
Thank you for the $10, Brutus Magnuson. Hashtag Team Jack. I remembered this time. I'll probably remember what else I wanted to say long after the stream is over. Hell yeah.
Relatable.
Oops. I that was supposed to be add to queue, not send yet. We're not there. Sorry.
We're not there.
Sorry, Willow. We'll get there.
Thank you for £5 from Barbara, who says, every day, wake up, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, coffee, get out of bed. Hashtag Team Lux. True.
Thank you for the $5, Bramley CX. Panda, send your girlfriend to r/translator. Lots of trans folks transition later. Me included. I started at 44. Hashtag Team Rock, Paper, Scissors.
Okay, let's go. Ready? 3, 2, 1, shoot.
Go.
I got paper.
Right.
Aha. Thank you for $5 from William, who says, a deal's a deal. Hashtag Team Riverboat Jack.
Yes, excellent. I sent them a pizza.
Oh, okay.
Bribe.
Nice.
Thank you for the $5 Australian Dusk Frame. What did the Toyota say when it called into TACIS? Hi, Lux. I don't understand.
Is there a pun? Thank you.
Is there like a Toyota car that called a Hilux? I don't know. We're not.
Oh, is that a specific kind of Toyota? Okay, cool. I did not know that.
I'm sorry.
Me neither. I pay more attention to them than I think a lot of people do, but that I don't know. It's just because the echolalia of like Hyundai Sonata. I don't know why. It's like sometimes they like lean into each other in a nice way. Anyway, $10 from YouTuber Grudge says hashtag Team Jack. I want to see Lux defend this. Yeah, understandable.
Thank you for the $20 from Narcissa 800. Bye everyone. Good show. Sorry I got cranky at that one cis guy. It happens. It happens.
They be making us cranky. It's true. Thank you for $5 from Armed Fro, who says, oh, that's a super cool profile picture. I see it's a fro with a bunch of shuriken and stuff coming out of it. That's neat. First time checking out this show on the line. Love it. And all the work y'all do. Keep up the good work. Thank y'all. Appreciate you checking us out.
Oh, people in chat are saying the Hilux is a model of Toyota truck.
Okay.
Not, sorry.
See, Arden saved us. Arden knew what was going on.
Yeah.
I only knew Toyota, so I was like, oh, I guess that's probably related somehow, but I don't know any fucking cars. I know the cars I've had, and that's literally it.
Yep.
Okay. Hilux is a pickup from Toyota, sold overseas and in Mexico, not currently available in the US. Okay.
Thank you for the $10 New Zealand dollary dues from Mountain Eucalyptus. Hi, someone said something silly about how they fake the trans regret stats, and I realized I don't know enough about it. Any recommendations on good studies with clear methodologies to look into? Fake the trans regret stats in what capacity, I guess?
It's like, because it's like, oh, it's so low that it couldn't possibly be real. Like the regret rate is so low that there's no possible way it could be real. I don't really know how you combat that when it's like, I mean, you're just basically calling into question the entire methodological format, which yes, there is such a thing as bad stats and like bad data or like bad interpretations of the data. But like, I think I don't know, like you just have to look at the studies and the methodologies and recognize that the entire reason why the regret rate is so low is because the bar to entry is so high. Like the amount of gatekeeping we do is so high that, we force people to go through all this other treatment first. So yeah, it's only the people who are 112% sure who get on the medicine in the first place. And of course they don't have very much regret because we made them wait for so long anyway. Yeah.
The US Trans survey is pretty good. I mean, its methodology isn't like super rigorous, but they have so many respondents that it really outweighs a lot of any flaws with like convenience sourcing your participants. Once you start to get to like the tens of thousands of participants, it really starts to counterbalance that. So
yeah. And there was a study on the NHS too, where they looked specifically at NHS data. So, that is like, it's not convenience. It's like, that's like, here's the data that we have. Here's all of the people who've used the NHS to get this service. And we see that they are consistently still on the medication through the NHS many years afterwards. So I guess if you're looking for one that's like, it's harder to make that argument, then I would look at the like NHS studies.
Also, I put a link into chat. Cornell University has like a super page of a bunch of different studies on how gender affirming care improves trans people's outcomes, and also has studies in there on regret rate. So that might be helpful.
We've got like 5, 6 super chats left, and then the defense. God. So we should probably roll through real quick.
Yeah. Thanks for $5 from Zoe. Oh wait, did you already read that one?
I don't know.
B's head is going to explode when he learns about plant girl mind control sci-fi. Yeah, fair enough.
Thank you for the $5 from Zoe Violet. Also, hashtag Team Jack.
Thank you for $5 from Ghoulbreel. No comment. Thank you.
Thank you for the $5 from Green Garbador. I asked this last week. I think, what is the time? But hashtag Team Jack. If you were a D&D class, what would it be? I would be a fighter.
Nice. Thank you for £5 from Willow, who says, I took my kid to a strip club once and couldn't believe people were taking their clothes off. Unacceptable. Hashtag Team Lux Maxing. True.
Yep. Thank you for the $5 from Green Garbador. Also, hashtag Team Lux. What fantasy setting has your favorite dragons? I love the D&D dragons because of their intelligence, lore, and variety.
I don't know enough different ones. So I always default back to like the Aragon series. They're intelligent. They can sporadically do magic. Good explanations for why they can fly, even though they are in the phenotype that's stupid with 6 limbs. Yeah, shout out to my boy Christopher Paolini. Thanks for not saying anything about trans people, so I can just assume that you're pro-trans.
Thank you for the $5 from Saria B. I just started to transition. Being included in women's space is affirming, but I also don't feel like I've earned it. I'm starting to, unfortunately.
Listen, you're supposed to be there. Thank you for $5 from Lord Ben. Says, been a lot happened. Anyway, I've become more well-trained in firearms to defend myself when the fascists come. Got an R870 named the Icebreaker. Nice. Yeah, nice. I want to get something smaller for concealed carry. I just have my Glock.
Okay, cowboy aesthetic is our winner. Give me a sec to get this up. I will try to go fast because I know Lux has got to fucking roll out here.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll make them wait. They can wait. They can, like, Forrest can vamp without me for a few minutes. We'll be fine.
Is it Forrest? It looks like Jimmy on the thumbnail.
Oh, the thumbnail should have been updated. Okay. It sometimes doesn't work. You know how that is.
Yep. YouTube is such a bitch.
Yeah, I checked with Luthien. I was like, did you change all that stuff? And we have redirect on, yeah?
Here, yes. Yep, I already got that set. All right, charging up the clock. And 3, 2, 1, go.
Listen, at the end of the day, drag is just dress up, right? Like, why do people have such a problem with people playing dress up? It's not like any more delusional for a drag queen to dress up as Ursula than it is for your little girl toddler to dress as a princess, you know? It's like, and like kids can absolutely wrap their heads around it. It's fine. And then it's like there's all kinds of costumes and like personas that people put on. And particularly like drag usually is about like taking on a persona that is either an exaggerated version of yourself or is like a complete fantasy fiction version of yourself, right? So we've got this problem with men nowadays where men, you know, they're lacking purpose, you know, they're lacking direction, they're lacking vision. You know, they go to work, they come home, they hate their wives, you know, they ignore their children. They are just like lacking in direction, you know, and they get into these midlife crises. And, you know, a 40-year-old banker buys a giant truck to haul air back and forth around town. And you know, you got to have some kind of meaning or purpose for yourself. And listen, I think that getting into an aesthetic is cool. I'm going for like a vaguely witch aesthetic, vaguely professional witch person. So, you know, I understand you need your comfort costume. And so you buy yourself a cowboy hat, you put on the boots that have clearly never had mud on them before, not judging. And you know, you gotta do something with yourself. So yeah, you get the big truck, you get the boots, you get like a button-down shirt, your blue button-down shirt that again doesn't have a single mark on it. You know, it's not like you're out there actually doing anything. You know, you just need to express yourself. You're playing dress up. You need to create a persona for yourself. You need to project yourself onto something. And, you know, being like a white guy in a polo is not satisfying to you. So I get it. I'm not shaming you. I understand. I support your right to play dress up as a cowboy. Cowboy aesthetic is masculine drag. I don't know what format that is. It's like where you introduce with the topic and then you say it again at the end. It's like a spelling bee or something. I always want to wrap it up by saying the thing at the end.
I want someone to make like a TikTok with that audio of them like going through a life change where they just adopt a cowboy aesthetic instead of a personality.
Yeah, like somebody animates it. Yeah. Yeah. That would be fun. Okay, that's the show. Credits are rolling. We did it. Don't forget to check out our patreon.com/call the line. I was about to say patreon.com/Luxander, which you can also do, but that's unrelated. Support our show. Go to see LionCon. Make sure we can grow and do cool things. And we will see you. I will not see you for a couple weeks, but we will see you next time.